system of governance. So if it changes the system from this one that we have today of presidential and of course take it to the parliamentary system of governance, what would it mean? Just how many of the people are going to get themselves to the top? Speaking of that aspect of regional balance and exactly what this would mean in terms of course, getting the people who will be at the top of the seat, and importantly, just incorporating these individuals that have been moving around, campaigning and trying to make themselves, national outfit. As of yesterday, we are seen lots of leaders working together, a likelihood of different sets or different parties cropping up, and of course we'll be looking at that, and we discuss just how much this then would alter the politics of the day as it stands today. So karibu sana, let's get to look at that. But importantly, later on we'll be discussing matters love, matters marriage. Are things changing? Do we always get excited about marriage like it was back then? If not so, then what could be informing this? A candid discussion that we'll be having, and I would love for you to be part and parcel of the show right from now going all the way. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. As always, the pleasure is mine to sample some of these comments as we proceed with the broadcast. You can as well call live. The numbers will be running down on your screen. So karibu sana. My name is Linda Lela. Let's kickstart first by taking a look at what the papers have, and we'll be updating you on what you expect for the day, and importantly also we look at what it is that my team has prepared. And so to the papers, the People Daily is here, the Standard newspaper and the Daily Nation. The big story, how IEBC gave out a referendum tender in 2019. I can't really tell the specifics as this is the work of the Secretariat, but I know that the Commission got the lowest supplier, who is a local farm. And so this is an interesting conversation that we seek to have. And as they call it, the Commission abandoned a restricted tender to allow De La Rue to print plebiscite material on a single source deal. That is a story captured on page 3. We look at it extensively as of course the conversations have been just who comes in handy first of all at times of elections to ensure that the materials that are being used are procured well, we get the right materials and from the right entities. Who wins the tenders, who does not? We'll be discussing that as we proceed. Another one here, members of parliament probe how CS paid about 2.3 million for toilets. A story captured on page 6 of the People Daily. The mobile units were to be used for one day in Gilgil. Audit also shows Cicely Karaoke diverted chopper to a private errand, and drama will never cease to happen, especially when it comes to the question of graft. And a different one altogether, KANU, Ford Kenya, Wiper and ANC in new alliance. And that was my question this morning. Just how many parties are we going to see cropping up? Just how many alliances are we going to see being formed? Are they going to work together with President Uhuru Kenyatta and Right Honorable Raila Odinga? Or they will go it their own way? Yesterday, going to Kabuchai to drum up support for a specific candidate. But importantly, they speak the language of unity. Just how genuine are they? We will wait and see. And a different story altogether. Uhuru unleashes CSs to complete pet projects and to secure his legacy and shield it from the multiple interpretation of politicians. The president has dispatched senior officials to the field to fast-track development agenda. So we'll be looking at that story captured on page 4. Remember, the subject of the day is the legacy trend. So what is this that President Uhuru Kenyatta seeks to do? First, to protect his legacy, but importantly, to also guarantee Kenyans a better leadership when he exits, and if he's going to exit the stage. As of course, to a different newspaper altogether, the Standard newspaper front page, newly minted Unity Alliance shapes up. That is, of course, in regards to these key 4 leaders, Gideon Moi, Kalonzo Musyoka, that is ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, and Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula. And away from it, BBI gains speed as 6 counties give it a nod. And so as of yesterday, we also saw the likes of West Pokot joining in the likes of Siaya and the other counties that said yes to BBI, as opposed to Baringo, which I decided to do it or to go it otherwise. And so the conversation is still on as to whether the BBI sails through or not. So we'll be looking at details of that as we proceed. Their choices that sank Kenyans into deep hole. As IMF gets into coming or to approving a 261 billion facility and a 3-year program that is to cushion us against the tough times of COVID-19. It is a moment of reckoning for a country that has sought and received about 75 billion repayment holiday. That is a story captured on page 4 and 5. Still on matters debt in the country as we incur that. The biggest question is just how best are we able to service this debt. 14 passengers of Butali Sugar Mill's 10th anniversary. And 14 pages. I don't know how I said passengers. I just remember looking at a story about an accident, so I thought it was almost the same thing. But that aside, a different story, row over appointment of Emily Onyango as ACK Assistant Bishop. That is also an interesting conversation. Such aspects will always play out in terms of, transitions, in terms of getting, successors after others exit the stage. And that is a story that is captured on page 3, as you can see, of the Standard newspaper. Coming to the Daily Nation, the front page of the Daily Nation, what is the big story? Higher taxes, job cuts as IMF returns. And the International Monetary Fund on Monday announced about 264 billion loan to Kenya, and with it a raft of new conditions whose effects will permeate the entire economy. A story captured on page 10 of the Daily Nation. That is one that I'd love to hear what specialists on matters economy have to say in regards to the same. But as we drop the same, taxman eyes piece of MCA's 2 million car grant, and it's going to be an interesting one. We'll be having Honorable Majiwa joining us, and he will definitely weigh in his sentiments in regards to this, being a member of County Assembly, and what representatives protest most or move to tax the incentive that was given to them by President Uhuru Kenyatta to pass the BBI bill. Well, according to what it is that many have called that, but equally to them, they say such is not the case. It's not an incentive. It is just something they've been pushing for quite a while. And it was a chance for them to meet with the president and push for it further so that it can be implemented. So they say it won't be enough to buy their choice of cars in the event that this money will be taxed. On matters education, schools need about 60,000 teachers before 2023. So the government is staring at an acute staffing crisis in secondary schools with a double intake expected in 2 years, time as the current standard 6 and grade 4 pupils join Form 1 and grade 7 respectively. And so this is going to be a hullabaloo even as we try to incorporate or adapt the competency-based curriculum. Many people have argued we are not ready. Some have argued that there's still more that needs to be done so that we can have to realize this streamlined and in totality. And away from it, how thieves stole about 2.8 million from dead traders' account. That's an interesting story that has been trending, and we'll be looking at it later on as we proceed. Or grab your copy and get this story captured on page 9. Chinese firm won a 9 billion contract on forged documents. Collapse of a bridge set in motion events that have shown how contractor forged National Construction Authority permits to win lucrative government tenders. A story captured on page 9, and such is always the case, especially when there is no proper or genuineness in terms of how we handle some of these particular projects. Raila Party bombshell to new aspirants to get ODM a ticket. Civil servants must resign by August the 4th. One of the stories that we'll be looking at this morning in regards to the aspect of succession and, leaving of legacy or legacy of certain parties. We expound some more on that as we proceed. Leaders split on House bid to criminalize hustler versus dynasty talk. And so we'll be looking at that as we proceed, as captured on page 5, and we will be giving you updates on the same. And of course, that is what we have it in the papers as at now. Importantly, let's take a look at what we have in store for the day on the day's diary. The National Elections Board Chair Lady, Mrs. Catherine Muma, will today speak about the planned ODM grassroots elections, mass membership registration, and the mode to be used in the exercise. And a different one altogether, victims of Kakuzi human rights abuses will today speak following settlement claims. And this is a story that has been followed for quite a while. We get to seek the details of the same as we proceed. A different one altogether, the National Council of Administration of Justice Children's Task Force Chairperson Justice Martha Koome will today launch several documents developed by the Task Force on Child Protection. The chief guest will be Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui. Yes, that's on the day's diary, and still more to come your way. As always, our team is on standby to update you accordingly. Briefly, we take a look at what is on the roads, and then we'll be coming to what it is that my team has prepared in terms of news. And so what is happening on the roads? A bit of traffic, not really a bit, I wouldn't want to call this a bit. This is Thika Road down from Githurai. As you can see, when you get to Ruaraka, some tenets of traffic, and then you proceed down to Muthaiga, you find that there's still traffic on this particular road as you headed to town somewhere around Pangani. There is traffic. Let me just get it up here so that you're able to see. Yes, there's a traffic down here around Pangani. And so if you're taking that direction, you can be rest assured that Thika Road is not looking so friendly this morning. And on this other side, Juja Road as well is not as good this morning, especially at that bit of Moi Air Base. You find there's some tenets of traffic. And so if you're taking Juja Road, you know what it is that you expect. But after Moi Air Base, it's, eases up and goes on well on this particular direction. And so in that case, you realize that there's not much of traffic, so no cause for alarm as you're taking that direction headed to town. And to a different direction altogether, this is Jogoo Road. Jogoo Road has traffic this morning. So if you are taking Jogoo Road, you know what to expect, especially around Madaraka, Motela. These areas are notorious when it comes to the roads. And so you expect that you will get so much traffic, as you can see the red bits here. And so that means you need not to take that direction, or you can take an alternative route. If you're taking an alternative route, like for instance, you disappear on this side of Outer Ring, let's see how it looks like. Outer Ring all the way from Embakasi as you headed to Allsops, and Outer Ring somewhere around Donholm there is where you find traffic. But then it eases up, and you can see right here, that's where you find some bit of traffic, but it eases up going down, and that is to and from Thika Road. It's pretty much easy this morning, so no cause for alarm if you are taking Outer Ring Road, falling to Juja Road, falling to this other direction. And somewhere around here as you headed to Ruaraka is where you get some bit of traffic again, but then it eases up. And to a different direction altogether, let's see what else is happening on this other rides. Kangundo Road is not looking so bad this morning, apart from some bits where you find traffic, but it is pretty much the easy. The Eastern Bypass is not so good. So you take Eastern Bypass around Mihango area there, you find some tenets of traffic. If you're taking that direction, you know what it is that you expect. As you can see right here, some bit of traffic, and so you need to find an alternative route, or you can proceed or step out as early as now. If you've not, Airport Road is also not so bad this morning around Embakasi there. And dropping us to Mombasa Road. Mombasa Road is a bit jammed up from this bit, as you can see. This is around, see down here from around Imara Daima, you find that traffic is not looking so good. and going down to Mombasa Road as you're headed to the city. This is bad. Around Cabanas, all there is traffic. Nairobi SGR Terminus, Gateway Mall, it is so bad this morning. And then you get to Mlolongo, is not looking so bad, but then again the absence of traffic on that area. So if you're taking these directions, be rest assured that you expect to find some bit of traffic, but then it eases up as you proceed. And a different one altogether, yes, is here. Well, let's see whether there's any other place that we'd love for you to know. Thika Road, like I said, you find some bit of traffic as you are taking Thika Road, and so much so in the event there's anything for us to update you on Ngong Road, on these other sides which are not looking so bad yet, we'll definitely be here to update you accordingly. Let's drop that one, and now let's take a look at what my team has prepared in terms of news. And as we proceed, West Pokot, Trans Nzoia and Busia are the latest counties to endorse the BBI Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 as the tally of counties that have ratified the bill rose to 6. Now, 3 counties now join Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay counties which adopted the BBI earlier this month, Baringo being the only county that has opposed this bill so far, as David Muthoka tells us.
The push to change the constitution through the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 received a major boost on Tuesday after 3 more counties voted in support of the BBI bill. The 3 West Pokot, Trans Nzoia and Busia joined 3 other counties, among them Homa Bay, Siaya and Kisumu, in the growing list of pro-BBI counties.
We want to the residents of the councillors of the governor plus our guest.
In West Pokot, the bill was unanimously passed by members of the Assembly in a session that was attended by West Pokot Governor John Lonyangapuo and South Pokot legislator David Kosing. This has seen West Pokot become the first county to endorse the BBI bill in Deputy President William Ruto's Rift Valley backyard. In Trans Nzoia, 34 MCAs voted in favor of the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 at a time when 2 MCAs opposed the bill, making the county the second devolved unit to pass the bill in the Rift Valley region in a span of just 12 hours.
Leo ilikuwa siku yetu na sisi tumeendesha masuala haya yote kisheria na hadi tukafika katika bunge na vote imekuwa unanimous kwamba Trans Nzoia imekubali BBI.
To emulate the example of my party leader.
In Busia, it was the same script, different characters, as out of the 53 MCAs, only 1 nominated member opposed the bill during the voting session that was presided over by Speaker Bernard Wamalwa.
Lakini sasa hii document penye inaenda sasa inarudi sasa mashinani, ambayo itaenda kwa every polling station. Wacha Mkenya mwenyewe katika Busia, katika polling stations zenyu, nyinyi wenyewe ndio mtaamua vile mnaitaka ama muitaki.
The Baringo County Assembly is the only assembly that has shot down the BBI bill so far in a session that was marred by chaos last week. The bill now requires 18 more endorsements from county assemblies to say through to the ultimate referendum test, at a time when 40 county assemblies are yet to cast their votes. David Muthoka, TV47.
ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula, KANU chairman Gideon Moi and Wiper party leader Kalonzo Musyoka have once again hinted at their likelihood of forming a coalition ahead of the 2022 polls. The 4 were speaking in Kabuchai, where they held joint campaigns ahead of next month's mini polls.
ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula, KANU party leader Senator Gideon Moi and Wiper party leader Kalonzo Musyoka addressing a joint media briefing at Kabuchai ahead of a series of rallies in Kabuchai to drum up support for Majimbo Kalasinga, the Ford Kenya candidate for the Kabuchai by-election. 4 have reiterated the need to forge ahead as a unit front as they aim to solidify their bases ahead of the 2022 polls.
Na tunataka tuwe na muungano ambao ni wa maana, ambao na lengo letu ni kuhudumia wananchi wa Kenya wote.
Tungependa kuwaeleza nyinyi, sisi tumeshika, tumeamini kwamba tutafanya kazi pamoja, tumeamini kwamba mabadiliko ambayo itakuja kwa Kenya itatokea hapa.
The leaders say their coming together signifies a new beginning, as they have vowed to work together with the aim of uniting Kenyans and forging a front that will help in resuscitating the Kenya's economy, create jobs opportunities for Kenyans, and create a leadership that will work for all Kenyans.
This is not an accidental get-together. It is deliberate, it is focused, it is designed, and it is determined to move forward to deliver this country to a team that will enhance our profile and the development of the people of Kenya.
They further took issue with Deputy President William Ruto's Asla narrative and his wheelbarrow politics.
Kenya hii wananchi wengi, kina mama mboga ambao wanataka kutumiwa vibaya wamechoka. Vijana bodaboda kuwa na bodaboda economy. Nikumbuka nilienda zamani zile nchi ya Beijing. Mji wa Beijing ni mji mkuu wa Uchina. In 89 it was bicycles everywhere.
So sisi tunasema kwamba umoja huu ni umoja ya jamii yetu, na hatutaruhusu mtu yoyote akuje hapo katikati. Ninaona mtu mwingine anaitwa Mugiza Kitui pia anakuja kujaribu, anataka kutisha hao watu.
Hatuwezi kubali mtu anatuchezea. Mimi nilikuwa na chama, ilikuwa naitwa Tip Tip. Huyu jamaa akaniambia, mtoto wa squatter, salala. Kwa hiyo chama yako sivunje. Na mimi navunja hii yangu ya URP. Hata mdosi atavunja hii yake ya TNA. Ukuje tuunde serikali.
Tomorrow, the team will be in Matungu to drum up support for Peter Oscar Nabulindo, the ANC party candidate. And next week, the team will be in Machakos in a similar mission to support the Wiper candidate for the Machakos senatorial by-election, Agnes Kavindo.
Interesting times ahead. We'll be looking at that, and we ponder some more on what is expected of us 2022. But away from it, leaders and residents of Bonchari constituency in Kisii County have continued to mourn their Parliament, John Oro, who passed on. And of course, Oro has been mourned as industrious and dedicated leader who served his constituents with an unparalleled devotion, as Maina Mwangi tells us.
It is at the home of John Oyoka Oro, the late Bonchari Member of Parliament. A somber mood engulfed his family, friends, relatives and constituents were coming to terms with the death of the legislator few hours after a long-time politician Simeon Nyachae was buried. Before the dust settled, a shaken Kisii County was thrown again into a period of mourning. Oyoka Oro, who passed on at the Aga Khan Hospital, Kisumu, according to the family, has been eulogized as a selfless, dedicated and industrious leader who improved the education levels in the area and transformed schools infrastructure in his constituency.
Na huyu Oro ni mtu mpole, ana hata shida. Hata alipokuwa anakuja ofisi, anakuja anafuata vitu ya Bonchari kwa ofisi yangu. Ni mtu mpole, tena mtu mkarimu sana.
To that, we give him accolades and appreciation for touching lives, because it's through education that our children get to be who they are today. I'm sure in his profession, he touched lives.
Bonchari constituents have mourned him as a call-away leader who would address the issues affecting them. As an accomplished educationist, they have heaped praises on him, remembering him for transformational projects, especially in schools.
Tumepoteza mjumbe mzuri, alikuwa anasaidia wengi, alikuwa anasaidia wamama wenye ambao wachewezi, alikuwa ameajiri watu wengi kwa shule yake, kwa boma yake.
Saa hii tuko na kilio, yeye anainua watoto mayatima kwa ajili ya shule. Watoto wetu wanasoma kwa ajili ya Oro Oyoka. Kwa ajili yeye ndiye anapatia watoto basari. Uweze kukuja kwake umuombe pesa ati uende kujisaidia. Lakini maneno ya watoto, bila alikuwa mtu wa education, yeye alikuwa anaangalia maneno ya masomo, anaangalia maneno ya parapara, anaangalia maneno ya kujenga mashule.
John Oyoka Oro was elected in 2013 on a PDP party ticket after the High Court considered a petition he had filed challenging his challenger's win. He, however, lost the seat after the Court of Appeal overturned the High Court's decision. When he had served for only 6 months, he later lost in the by-election and was re-elected in 2017 on a PDP party ticket.
Mbunge ambaye alikuwa anatufanyia kazi bila ubaguzi. Mbunge ambaye alianza maendeleo ya mashule yetu kwa miaka mingi hayakuwa yameshughulikiwa. Lakini kwa sasa mheshimiwa wetu amerekebisha hayo maeneo ya shule.
John Oyoka Oroo brings to 5 the total number of members of parliament who have died in the last 3 months, including Justus Murunga, James Lusweti, and Senators Boniface Kabaka and Yusuf Haji. Mwangi Maina, TV 47, Nairobi.
Well, members of National Assembly and the Senate have mourned the late Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji, eulogizing him as a legend on matters leadership. Majority of the legislatures terming Haji as their mentor. The late Haji died on Monday morning while receiving treatment at Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi. And he was buried the very same day in, of course, keeping the Islamic customs.
I think it will be very, very fair that the constituency called Ijara, which has recorded more than 350,000 citizens in the last census, for him to be remembered must be accorded an extra constituency. That is what I think the President and the former Prime Minister and those who are in the forefront of the BBI should do.
The role he played in the drafting of the BBI and even seeing him at Bomas, and you could tell that at Bomas he wasn't very strong. But then the call for that helping the country to come together, I could see was overwhelming to him. And I think it is befitting for us to urge Kenyans to honor him by passing the BBI. That is what came to my mind when I learned of his passing on.
As him when he was the provincial administrator, the PC of the Rift Valley, which was our home province, there was a very surprising thing about him. He, in his own house, he had a mosque. He built a mosque. We have always referred Honorable Haji as one of the most religious provincial administrators in Nakuru, together with Honorable Raburu.
So the openness of Senator Haji, the truthfulness of Senator Haji, and the dedication to serve this country, for me, is without example.
You become a pariah when you're expelled. And Yusuf Haji was the administrator, but that moment of victimizing you, he didn't do that. And so I was able then, Mr. Speaker, to organize myself and get out of the country without much harassment. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say...
Speaker, Senator Haji is a great man. He's somebody that we will never forget. And he's somebody this country will never get. Because one of the attributes as far as government is concerned, he has never gone against the government. I remember he used to call me in my language, Intalguda. Intalguda means msichana mkubwa. Yeah? Clearly meaning that he was respecting the authority. I remember he discussed in confidence about BBI with me before he was taken ill to Turkey. But I'm not going to say it here. I have shared it with the relevant authority. We must, as a country, do something in remembrance, in honor of Senator Yusuf Haji.
Well, that's that point we take a short break, and we'll be coming back to expand some more on the papers and equally cross over to the conversation of the day. Remember, it's all about the legacy, and so we're looking at the trends and equally the dilemma that lingers around as we talk matters legacy. Just who's going to take up the mantle for President Uhuru Kenyatta, and will they be their best bet for the people of Kenya after this break?
p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of
licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant and the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant and the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's 47, the home of untold stories.
And yes, it is the home of Untold Story, and this is Morning Cafe. It is time that we now get to the papers alongside the gentlemen that joined me this morning. Honorable James Gakuya is here. We equally have Irungu Goko as we await to get a hold of Honorable, that is Geoffrey Majiwa, who will equally be joining us shortly. They'll be taking us through the conversation this morning. Honorable James Gakuya is the Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, and Irungu Goko is a governance expert. So we get straight to the papers. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Good to have you. These are the gentlemen that always grace our set most of the Wednesdays, and so it is now time that they also join us as we look at what the papers are talking about this morning. And so the People Daily, the Standard newspaper, and the Daily Nation. Let's kickstart with the People Daily. Most of these stories also captured on the same pages of the Daily Nation and the Standard newspaper. And straight to it, how IEBC gave out referendum tender in 2019. I can't really tell the specifics, as this is the work of the Secretariat, but I know that the Commission got the lowest supplier, who is a local firm, and the Commission abandoned restricted tender to allow De La Rue to print plebiscite materials on a single source deal. A story captured on page 3. This is not strange, but then again it sends some chills and fears in the spines of many in regards to irregularities that would be noted on this. And as I would say, I can't really tell the specifics, and this is the work of the Secretariat, but I know that the Commission got the lowest supplier, who is a local firm. So even as we're talking about the referendum, there still are tenets of fears in regards to how genuine we are. That is on the procurement processes, and equally on a focus of getting the right materials for the referendum. Do we really want to be treated to this as early as now? I know it's a bit confusing because, I mean, nobody expected to get such reports, but here we are with the reports. And yes, as I would take us through a little bit, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, has already awarded a tender for printing ballot papers for the impending referendum. If at all we're going to go for a referendum.
Thanks a lot, Leader.
Yes.
Let me start by welcoming all our viewers, our colleagues and our friends who are watching us. This company has been with us for the longest time.
Yeah.
So it's a local company, I would call it a local company, that
Put
has
it up.
employed so many people who are Kenyans. And when we moved to the cashless money, where we use M-Pesas, mobile money, and cards, this company suffered a lot in terms of revenue. So many people are laid off. I remember their union.
So this is De La Rue we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if IBC would pick it, and it's the lowest bidder, I would see it as a win-win for Kenyans.
Okay.
Because there's no need of having these papers done somewhere in France or Germany or somewhere. Then they are brought in for us to use.
Yeah.
I would support IBC for that move in that line. What I don't know is some of these so-called procurement procedures, some of them end up giving us a lot of corruption loopholes. Because if we go for the, let's say, if this company says that if Omtata, because I'm reading it's Omtata who went to court, if Omtata says the procedure was not followed, yes, it wasn't followed, but sometimes I look at it in a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because if we don't see the bigger picture, we'll always, because laws sometimes are made to favor some people, and sometimes they are made to really give us what I call a lot of bureaucracy over nothing.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of wait and see.
Okay.
But if it was the lowest bidder, then I would hope we just stick to it. After all, it's given us a lot of employment in Kenya.
All right.
Yeah.
The biggest question then continues to be, in as much as we're talking about this and this particular report, Honorable Gakuya, we still are in the dark in regards to just how much money we're going to use for the referendum. And Kenyans are worried that probably we are channeling cash to a project that maybe is not necessary, hence declaring us or our leaders as leaders who have misplaced priority.
Linda, first and foremost, let us not forget that at least we have a temporary court orders that bars the Electoral Commission to start preparing or doing anything towards the preparation to referendum.
Yes.
And having such an order, I believe it's not wise to start procuring of materials of any kind when such case is still in court. I believe it is important for them to have a break as ordered by the court until when the court will give them a clear direction or indication.
Let's get this clear. Let's get this clear. It has emerged that IBC, which single-sourced a local firm to print ballot papers for by-elections in September 2019, had also included a provision for printing referendum materials as early as that. And in most cases, when they are having these conversations, it is always, is it always, a done deal, a sealed deal, or maybe it is just a consideration that in the event that this sails through and we are headed for a referendum, then we will consider you?
One is that you are, according to how the papers are reporting, is that the rule was single sourced.
Yes.
Then you are telling me that there are two routes of procurement. Then there are restricted measure, there are the restricted procurement procedures, and there are others that other government agencies that do not restrict to procurement procedures. I am telling you, this country must be led from a one perspective.
Right.
There is no way that at least we can allow some agencies to be using what we call single sources when there is a variety of number of those. The competition is always there, and the intention of the competition is to give at least the best person to supply, and number two, the best price. How do you know how the others could have quoted
Priced, yes.
if you have not given it an opportunity? Yes, we have an issue with the SGR. SGR was single sourced, and you found that single source did not give this country anything good in value, because Kibaki government negotiated the same at 220 billion.
Yes.
But when it was negotiated in the single source, it skyrocketed
up,
to almost 400 billion.
They say it's the lowest that there was.
No, you cannot tell it is the lowest when we don't know what the others quoted.
Okay.
Yes, we can only agree that it was the lowest when we get the list of the others.
Okay.
We have no status of what the others was quoted, did quoted, and you cannot single source. When you are single source, it tells you there was no competition.
Right.
Yes, you cannot tell us it was the lowest. How lowest, and yet it was single sourced.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's an interesting one right here, and the conversation, I'm sure, is going to take different twists and turns as we proceed. Honorable Geoffrey Majiwa joins us this morning. Good to have you. Deputy Speaker of Nairobi, it is a pleasure to have you this morning. And we are looking at the papers briefly before we delve into the conversation. How members of parliament probe how CS, that is, paid about 2.3 million for toilets. That is a story that has been captured here. The mobile units were to be used for one day in Gilgil. Audit also shows that Sicily Karaoke diverted a chopper to a private errand. I do not know why we still have these conversations where leaders, I know, a procurement, the procurement processes are done in an unscrupulous way. Sometimes the monies that we're talking about are extremely expensive for nothing. And to make it worse is that it keeps happening, yet we still do not have answers. I mean, should we even be talking about this at a time like this? Honorable Majiwa.
Well, thank you,
kindly have the microphone. Today we have not mic'd you the usual way.
Thank you, Linda. I think it's a conversation that we should not be having at this time. It's unfortunate that some of these things are still happening. But then again, it all boils down to administration. You know, these CSS, there are people who are managed from a certain quota. So they also should be able to take instructions from their employers. And the government, the Jubilee government, actually is the owner of this CSS. So the Jubilee government should tell us if this is what they believe in, And if they don't believe in, what are they doing about it?
Yeah.
Because these are people who are under them, squarely under them. They can fire them any minute they want. So they should also tell us what are they doing about these things.
If you can remember the drama in Bungoma with Lusaka, and now he is the speaker, and numerous other leaders that almost procured interesting projects, so to speak, as at now, and they still have found themselves, or they were lucky enough to find themselves back into the top of the helm. Do you suppose then there's any level of genuineness in how we handle such? And I mean, what then does it speak about the battle against corruption?
The most unfortunate thing with this corruption thing is that we have a scenario in a government that is not pulling together.
Yeah.
And so you realize that when somebody is accused of corruption, they're looking for quarters where they can hide. So it becomes a battle between the leadership of that party that is running the government, instead of that party uniting to fight the corruption. Then you find that the leadership of the party is the one that is not reading from the same page.
Right.
So it's a problem to deal with it because it needs a united force. Yeah.
Okay, well, and coming to page 4 of the People Daily, Uhuru orders cabinet teams out to the field. I think this is a story that is interesting, but equally a very good one, even as he seeks to protect his legacy and equally guarantee the people that some of the pet projects that he speaks about, by the time he exits the space, I mean, should have been, finished, or so to speak. Genuine at all?
Reader, let me see. The current order of cabinet actually is totally a different one from the previous one.
Yeah.
And I think that the people who must help the president to be known that he's working and reporting back to him are these cabinet ministers. But you find that it's like they are not articulating their job very well. Failure for the public to understand what the government is doing is telling you that, in fact, those who are in charge are not doing their job well, and they are not letting the public to understand what they are doing within their circles. And therefore, you find that we have budgets every financial year. And every budget that comes from this cabinet, from these ministries, most of them. But you realize that ministries does not do audit. They start a project today. When we come to another financial year, they stop that project and they bring another new project.
Yeah.
Then they capitalize with a new one and they forgot the previous one. And the previous one becomes what we call a white elephant. I am saying it is quite in chaos that actually we have various number of stagnant projects. And I believe the government must come to a point where must make sure that first we deal with those stagnant projects.
Yeah.
We do them completely and at least then hand them over before starting new ones. That's only one. That's when we can we can be able to see value of the money. But there's no value of the money if you have just pinned about billions of money and you have left them behind. They are languishing without anybody caring for them. So I am saying that I support the president that the cabinet ministers must work, move out, see what is happening down there. They correct what is wrong. Okay. If there is such kind of stagnant project, it is their time to make sure that these projects are complete, so that at least the government can get value of what they are doing. Okay, otherwise, we shall be having what we call budgets of every financial year, but these budgets are not assisting Wajiko at all. Yes.
Okay, well, as we drop that one and coming to this one on matters politics, KANU, Ford Kenya, Wiper and NC New Alliance, also to speak from what they say, they have that unity of purpose. They are working together towards ensuring that they are a team for the sake of the common mwananchi. Well, as far as we're concerned, maybe this is what we have witnessed in the past, few months or a year or so, after most of these leaders, in a way, gelled into Jubilee or gelled into working with the president. So is it something that is new? And when we're looking at these 4 leaders, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, Gideon Moi, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, do you suppose then that we are likely to see another alliance or coalition cropping up, or it's just a way of cementing what it is that they enjoy alongside Right Honorable Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta? Goko.
Well, let me say,
microphone.
That's a good move.
Yeah.
For once, we are seeing that all the 4 have been joyriding on either Kibaki, then Raila, then Uhuru, and they have realized that Mzee Kibaki retired. Raila is on his way to retirement. Uhuru has, by principle, is going home.
Yeah.
So it's a high time for them now to take up and come out and say, Liwe Liwaro,
Right.
we have to do this. This is a good move for the nation. Let me say that their numbers may be minimal, but if they capitalize on it, then they can have what we call an additional value of small numbers. So which Kalonzo, Wetangula, and let me say the biggest winner there can only be Mudavadi and Wetangula.
Why?
Both of them, I've seen them saying viongozi wetu wa Western ni Mudavadi na Wetangula. So I don't know at what point they'll say kiongozi wetu wa Western ni either Mudavadi ama Wetangula.
Okay.
And if they keep on saying ni Mudavadi na Wetangula, so when they go on the table, they can say, yes, I'm Wetangula from this side and I'm Mudavadi from this side. So you're dealing with us as Western, which is 2/1.
Okay.
So they can negotiate from that perspective, which is a good, which is a good
Plus
move
for the Western region?
Yes.
Okay.
For Gideon Moi is a good place because he need now to start feeling the politics ile ya mashinani, ile ya matanga.
Right.
So for him it's a good one. For Kalonzo, it's an additional for him because he has always been unable to move out of Ukambani. When he went to Coast, he won with Wiper for Senate. Then I don't know what happened. He lost it again. So this time round, joining that coalition is a good for him if he is able to capitalize and move from the diplomatic politics that he has always enjoyed. So and for this nation to move forward, we need such coalitions.
Okay.
Good or bad, they are good.
Well, not so new of coalitions, and so we'll be
And of
looking
course,
at that as we proceed.
there will never be a single government without a coalition.
Oh, yeah.
Either pre or post.
Okay, we'll be looking at that as we get into the politics or the legacy dilemma. But then again, debt choices that sunk Kenyans into deep hole. Honorable Majiwa, we're speaking about us getting deeper and deeper into debt. That is a story on the Standard newspaper, and equally that has been captured on the Daily Nation. Higher taxes, job cuts as IMF returns. We have about 2 minutes to hear what you have to say in regards to this.
Well, it's an unfortunate scenario because if we keep sinking deeper into debt and we have a government that is working, then it simply tells you one thing, that within the government there is no goodwill to really come to the rescue of Kenyans, because when we put government in place, we put government in place to be actually helping Kenyans get out of such issues. When government is in office and then the Kenyans are still sinking deeper into debts, it's either the government is the one who is eating its people, or the government is failing its people.
Okay.
So I think it comes back again to the Jubilee government that Kenyans are looking up to them to help them get out of these debts. And the more they continue fighting, the more Kenyans sink deeper, because debts, the only medicine for debt is to pay. You have to pay your debts. And the more they continue fighting, they'll only continue borrowing more. So they have to just up their game and think about their unity if they want to lead this country together.
Okay, well, on that one, we leave it at that, and we'll be coming to expound some more briefly on the papers as we cross over to the conversation altogether. That should be after this break.
Strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant and the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant and the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Old Stories.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Still with me, Honorable James Gakuria, Geoffrey Majiwa, and Irungu Woko as we proceed with the broadcast. And Mheshimiwa, briefly we take two stories from the papers and now we cross over to the discussion. Uproar over proposals to jail hustlers. A section of senators' back bill say it will empower Cohesion Commission. This is information that we were treated to yesterday morning. The likes of Orengo say this bid to criminalize the hustler slogan is a betrayal to the long struggle to democratize the Kenyan state. And they say they want to make it look like it's causing division when it is not. You cannot stop an idea whose time has come. And the hustler narrative is just an example that we probably are using right now, the hustler versus dynasty. But such has been the case in as much as, you know, some of these slogans come on board to bring a lot of animosity and intolerance as witnessed as these different sides try to battle it out, you know, in the struggle of getting into the leadership position. Do you suppose that this bill is genuine? I'm sure you must have, you know, had a chance to look at it. And so the National Cohesion and Integration Amendment Bill 2021 that is crafted by Paul Koinange led parliamentarians or National Security Committee states that anyone who incites Kenyans alongside, you know, the hustler versus dynasty split could be imprisoned for 5 years or pay a fine of about 5 million. A person who has been dismissed or removed from office for a contravention of section 62(1) and 64(a)(1) is disqualified from holding any state public office.
Oh, Rita, let me say this. Before we start attacking or criminalizing or condemning some slogans like this one.
Yes.
It's better to understand where we have come from. This country in 2007, we had two slogans. We had Kibaki's slogan, which was Kazi Iendelee. We had Raila Odinga's slogan, which was Kazi Ianze. And that Kazi Ianze, it destroyed this nation almost to the ashes. Then we come to the last election. We had NASA. NASA how? Who are those who have been NASA'd? So these are slogans which has obviously have been there before. To have an idea that in fact now the Hustler Nation is a narrative which is trying to create two edges, that it's a war between those who have and those who have not. To me, that is not the fact. But because this has touched the public and has touched these hustlers, these forgotten society down there very well, some politicians are very angry about it. And they must look for a way how to destroy it. And I have no problem because one, the fellowship knows who is their shepherd. And therefore, whether it will be criminalized or not, we may stop that particular angle of slogan, but whichever other slogan that the shepherd will come with, it will still carry the day. Because what matters is how do you win your supporters? How do you bring together your flocks? And I believe that was the narrative by Deputy President. If the people think that actually it is becoming so popular and they think that this is a time to kill it, well and good. But the fellowship will still continue. Yes, whether it will die or not.
Whether under the hustler slogan or not. And so to speak, Goko, sadly enough is that in as much as politicians will always use these words as rhetoric, just words to entice the supporters to their side, in most cases the supporters on ground, get to that level of animosity and, develop some rage against each other. And so maybe it is justified for NCIC to come with such, rough measures to address the same.
That's a lot, leader. Let me say, a friend of mine called Simon Monene gave me his views about this. And what I'm looking at, like Mheshimiwa here is saying, I'm looking at a scenario where, like I said last time, the old mind school of thought have not adapted to the new mind school of thought. And you can have a million laws, but until you change the mindset, then you can have as many laws as you want. But until you change the mindset, that's when that law will make sense to everybody. The hustlers versus dynasty, the two words can be eliminated, but the mindset is what matters most. To me, the mindset is what matters most. And it's not a good move because we are setting a class war. We are setting a class war. We are setting a social gap. We are setting things the wrong way. But the mindset, and I repeat, the mindset is what is important. Because, like we say, there's the word, the constitution, the book, and the word, and there's the constitution, the spirit, and goodwill. What we need, and like you are reviewing earlier, when state and politics and government were separated by the constitution, the thinkers of that approach did not tell us how to bridge the three into one. So all these we are seeing are the gaps that emerged from the separation of power within the government itself. Because when a cabinet secretary cannot play siasa because he is not allowed by the constitution, yet the MP mwenyana ako kwa siasa cannot do the role of a cabinet secretary. That gap is what is being seen today. That's why the politicians and the thinkers of hustlers versus the dynasty saw that gap, and they thought, how best can we use it to talk about ourselves? And they realized we can say, hao ni matajiri na sisi ni maskini. During the Kibaki era and the Moi era, when the cabinet ministers were drawn from parliament, it was very easy to put a cabinet secretary to a political task. But today, we cannot do that. And to me, the law, that bill can be there, and we can list so many other words. And I can give a clear example. When we rested the criminalization of the words like mungiki, sungusungu, and all that, it did not stop militia groups from emerging. They are still there. So, like Mheshimiwa Hafsa said, and agree with him, the law will go through, but another word will be crafted,
right,
and the supporters will still subscribe to it.
Okay.
So, to me, it's neither here nor there.
It leaves us wondering just what then a role will NCIC be playing and whether it gets successful with that role. But to drop that one into the last story that we'll be picking this morning in regards to the BBI. BBI gains speed as 6 counties give it a nod. Only 1 has said no to it. But even as we talk about this, there's this story that has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation, one that got us, to raise emotions sometimes last week in regards to the car grant. And finally, the taxman eyes piece of MCA's 2 million car grant. But the ward representatives protest this move to tax the incentive that was given to them by President Kenyatta. Listen to that. They call it the incentive that was given to them by President Kenyatta to pass the BBI bill, saying it won't be enough to buy their choices or their choice of cars. Yes, as we close on malice. The papers.
Lina, that is malice. That's malice.
Malice from what they say, or malice from me asking you this? Yes.
First, the word car grant. The word car comes first. This is money that is meant for you to buy a car.
Right.
You are given a grant to buy a car. And when you buy a car, Linda, you pay tax. You can never be taxed twice on the same business.
Okay.
Yeah, so anybody who is thinking of taxing the car grant is really thinking outside the realities.
All right.
Yeah, because this is a car grant meant for a certain purpose. When you go to buy that car, definitely you'll pay tax. So should I pay tax now? And again, when I go to buy the car, I pay tax. Okay. Why pay tax twice? You can't pay tax twice in this country. Right. There are no such laws.
Do you suppose you'll be successful on this one?
That one is already something that is up and running.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you'll be able to challenge the taxman?
That cannot go through.
That one cannot go through.
That's a wishful thinking.
All right. Well, okay. We leave it at that. The BBI, the document seems to be doing so well so far.
Yes, it's a good document. It has to do well.
Oh, yes?
Yeah.
So without doubt, we'll have 24 counties in
those.
It's
just a matter of time. It is only that it has a framework within which everybody should be done with it.
Okay.
But it's going to go through.
All right.
The majority of the counties will pass it.
Okay. And speaking about the legacy trends, we'll be looking at this one on ODM. And in regards to that ticket, Right Honorable Raila Odinga's party bombshell to new aspirants to get ODM ticket. They say they must resign as civil servants by August, and they also must be life members. I don't know whether you had any interest you had, thoughts of shelving your interest to pick up the challenge of, going it as a presidential candidate. Not just yet, yeah? Not just yet. So do you suppose it's unfair for the people who probably could be having interest and not lifetime member parties? Anyway, we'll be asking some of these questions as we proceed with the broadcast, because I'd love to understand what really goes in there, and I'm sure the common Mwananchi equally would love to understand in terms of getting these preferred flag bearers. But first, let's listen in to some bites here that will kickstart or that will help us shape the conversation this morning in regards to the legacy dilemma.
Wakati Uhuru Kenyatta alikuwa anahitaji rafiki wa kusimama na yeye, wengine walisema yeye ako na kesi, wengine wakasema yeye hafai kwa sababu baba yake alikuwa rais, wengine wakasema hafai kwa sababu yeye ni mtu wa kutoka Central. Lakini mimi nilisimama na yeye wakati alikuwa anahitaji rafiki. Nilisikia mtu ya kitendawili juzi anasema wheelbarrow ni takataka. Mimi nataka nimwambie, we my friend, wacha ukumbavu, aje upuzi, ajue wera ni wera.
Kenya hii tunataka amani na tuweze kuendelea pamoja. Mkenya awe ameishi Mathare, awe ameishi Zaweri Gatondo, awe ameishi Kisumu, awe ameishi Mombasa, awe ako na haki yake kama Mkenya ule mwingine. Na hiyo ndio lengo la BBI, kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumesawasisha wananchi wa jamhuri. Kuhenyo. Aturumana irumana yaturimu ndiramwenda aramwenda nako aramwenda ke muraga murumi arenge iyo niyo njira ya gukuria bururi andu aitu please andu ni mokire andu ni mamberie gwiciria niki giki turero. Mimi napendanga haki jameni, mimi sina madharau na mtu, lakini mimi napenda haki. Huwezi kuja upande moja unatusi na upande mwingine unasema angalia. Unaangalia nini umefanya? Kama mwingine kitu ni moja, we are either together or we are apart. But you cannot come and take credit and then at the same time insult those you are together with. Does that work? Ati wewe duka yako wewe.
All right, is the hustler narrative, is the DP running a parallel government? If not so, as he declares that he's part and parcel of the Jubilee government, is he distracting the moves of his boss? Honorable Gakuya.
Linda, first and foremost, let us confine ourselves into what the Jubilee Party of today looks like. Right. The Jubilee of today is a party that's been led by a Secretary General and few. Is a party that has totally sidelined the rest of the stakeholders. And let me tell you, I has been always repeating saying, political parties are like companies. Companies are registered and shareholders are part and parcel of their deeds out of that particular company. In this particular case, Deputy President killed his party and the other parties also died to create a political party known as Jubilee. But today, those who lost their parties are no longer given a chance in the management of this political party. At this point in time, I will tell you that we are just near to an election. And I am sure that anybody who has known all the stubborn issues within the political parties known as Jubilee is very clear in his mind that the Deputy President may not be comfortable with a candidature of this party if he is intended to contend for president in this particular country tomorrow. One, the signs are very clear that the party may not even clear him. In this particular case, if you want to start a journey for tomorrow, the journey must not start tomorrow, must start today. Okay. Therefore, what the DP is doing is preparing himself, gearing himself to 2022 politics. And let me tell you, there are two different things. There is what we call the government. He is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and he is articulating his duties as required by the law. And the President has not assigned him any particular duty where he has failed to articulate it. The deputies, including the deputies of governance, have no duty in the Constitution. Their duties are delegated by their bosses. And if your boss has not assigned you to any particular duty, then you are dutiless. You can just walk into office and read the newspapers and walk out. Right. Take tea and walk out. Okay. And I can tell you as of now, the duties of Deputy President were taken over by Matiang'i. Matiang'i was given what we call executive minister to take the issues to do with opening of projects, the assignment that was done by the Deputy President before. And therefore, I can tell you the Deputy President is very idle. And what would he be doing in the office? He must be strategizing himself in what of his future politics, since he has no future in the Jubilee Party.
Well, if today I come into the office and I'm told, Linda, do not host morning cafe, just sit in the office, day 1, day 2, day 3, 1 week, I will start questioning, what is the problem? Is there something that I've done wrong? I will go back to my boss and ask them, is there no assignment for me? Why is it that you're not awarding me an assignment? Do you think the Deputy President has complained to the President that he's probably been left without an assignment?
That's leader. Let me first send my personal message of condolences to the family of the late Senator Yusuf Haji. Right. He was my boss at the BBI task force. Yes. And he was a good man. We can talk so much about him. And on the question you asked, I would say we are lying to ourselves. Because when the Deputy President took over office, the Constitution defines his roles. Like I repeated here 1,000,000 times, he has never in person complained of being denied his duty. He has never in person complained about being underfunded. There's a PS in the office of the Deputy President. So wherever we are talking about saying that he has been denied his duty, like Mheshimiwa is saying, is just a fallacy. And what the Deputy President is doing is he has been unable to understand that the new constitution gives a Deputy President specific roles and mandate. Him being a student of Moi, I see a replica of who Moi was when I was a young boy. Because Moi loved traveling, talking to people. Ruto loves traveling and talking to people. Even if you give him roles, I can bet you he'll chair that meeting in the shortest time period, get into the next chopper, and go out. I'm yet to read anything official that these last 2 weeks he chaired a meeting on county government allocations. That is his constitutional mandate. The roles Mheshimiwa is saying that were given to the CS Interior are not constitutionally allocated under the DP.
Okay.
It's just a cabinet role of coordinating cabinet. It's not coordinating government. It's coordinating cabinet secretaries, and the PS Interior coordinates at the PS level. Why? The ministry they had is called Ministry of Interior and National Government Coordination. So it is practically being told, all of you are cabinet secretaries, but since I need a leader among you, and I don't want it to be a roadside declaration or just a word of the mouth, I've given a presidential order giving administrative powers to CS Interior, even if his duty is that. When we say that the Deputy President is running a parallel government, I would say Deputy President is running a parallel Jubilee party.
Okay.
Not a parallel government.
Well, of course, definitely not a parallel government. Coming to you, Honorable Majiwa, we're talking about the legacy, and President Uhuru Kenyatta at some point has acknowledged that, you know, in a huge way, there's some people who try to frustrate his move of attaining his legacy. And today he speaks of a scenario where he is still determined to at least, you know, leave something good for the people of Kenya. Incorporating the CSs as we have seen in terms of this. Why is he leaving his DP out of this? Do you suppose he's seen some tenets of a person who's not capable of delivering, and hence the reason?
Well, when I look at Uhuru, I see somebody who had discovered that he was conned.
Okay.
So he's trying to recover from the conmanship that he was operating with.
How is that conmanship? You've just had the DP acknowledging that, you know, when he needed friends the most, they were not there. I mean, wasn't that reason enough? He should also tell us
he needed the friends, but at what cost was he there himself?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, we live around, all of us. We know what takes place at night and during the day.
Okay.
So he should also tell Kenyans at what cost, because it has also been said in the media here. We have been told that there was some payment made. Right. So that is not something we should look at, that he was the only one.
You'll tell us whether there was some
we have been told.
In fact, let us not indulge what we cannot be able to
substantiate.
In fact, Linda, if a deputy president tells you something that happened in government, you'd want to believe it.
Yes.
Similarly, if the vice chairman of a party tells you what happened in the party, you would want to believe it. So we have been told that there was some payment. And we saw it happen. I mean, nobody denied. So if nobody denied and the party leadership said it, then we believe it is true, it happened. And so when we talk of the roles that are being taken from somebody, I don't see any role that is being taken from somebody. Just like he says that just the other day, the DP was sharing a very serious meeting about revenue allocation. And that is his role. What seemed to have happened is that Uhuru discovered that in the year 2013, 2017, he left things, and then that is where he was conned his power. Because if you remember, there was a time, a member of parliament for Gatundo, Nani Kuria, he was drunk in some village in Gatundo at night. And he was openly saying that he supports the DP because the DP is the one who brings development to central Kenya. I think you remember that.
Yes.
Yes, he said that he supports DP because he's the one who brings development to Kenya, and he does not support Uhuru because Uhuru takes development elsewhere.
Okay.
And then after that, DP appeared somewhere and said, mimi ni mtu wa mkono wa Uhuru. He said those things.
Yes.
Yeah, so
and the president acknowledged the same and
yes.
said yes.
So Uhuru has just discovered that mtu wangu wa mkono ananilagai.
All right.
So he wants to do his jobs himself.
Has he discovered a bit too late?
It's a bit too late, but it's not so bad because Kenyans are now coming to terms with the reality.
Okay.
Because you see now, when now Uhuru goes out, he discovers that anytime he took an opportunity to send somebody with any government projects, then that project was used to radicalize the central Kenyan youths. If you analyze this, even this Hustler Nation thing, you realize that it is deeply rooted in Central than any other part of this country.
Okay.
Why is it so? Because the members of parliament who came from Central, most of them believed in this movement they had with the DP. When Uhuru gave them projects to take there, they turned them into their own, and they used those same projects to radicalize the youths of Central. So these members of parliament from Central, even if you see DP going around the country with other members of parliament from other regions, they are not as staunch as these ones from Central of Kenya. Because these Central of Kenya MPs are the ones who believe in the Hustler Nation because they know the secrets behind it. And it is good to say the truth. We are facing an election, and what we are looking at is a situation where somebody will now ask the youth to go to the streets that no Fulani, no peace. No Fulani, no peace, because they are made to believe that this Hustler Nation must only be led by so and so. You know that Hustler Nation has one leader.
Yes.
They have not talked of any opportunity that they are going to do any nomination for anybody. No.
Right.
They have one leader who is undisputed. The rest are just followers who are supporting him wherever they are. So it is something that is obvious. Even when you see parliamentarians trying to do their job, you know, the work of parliamentarian is to legislate. If they start thinking of how they can legislate around these slogans in politics, it's not a problem. It is their work. They need to legislate. So I don't see a problem in Uhuru doing his job and letting his deputy do what belongs to him. We should not cry. Uhuru now is looking at his legacy.
Okay.
And he has seen somebody was messing with it.
All
he has
right.
taken up, though slightly late, but he's trying to catch up with time, and that's why you're seeing him a lot these days. He's going everywhere.
And do you think he's going to
recover.
achieve that, Mheshimiwa? We're coming to you. And maybe just pick up that conversation or that bit where we talk of what has been declared, that maybe there were some payments that played out for the DP to come in support of President Uhuru Kenyatta. At some point in time, you have seen most of the leaders or allies to the DP arguing that, you know what, it is time that the president pays that particular debt. And then slowly by slowly, the two gentlemen came to a point where they acknowledge there is no debt that is in existence. And in politics, we equally know that these payments play out. Do you suppose then that the actions that we witnessed today justify that utterance that there could have been some, you know, monies that were exchanged?
First and foremost, let me distance myself from that particular angle, that there is a saying or any claim that actually there was a dowry paid for the deputy president to support the cause of the President Uhuru Kenyatta. What I am very much aware is that there was an arrangement between two gentlemen who were in a critical position by then, because their necks were under what we call chains at Netherlands. And actually, that particular case that emanated during their tenure then brought them together. And I can tell you their cause healed this country, because in the Rift Valley, the Kikuyus and Kalenjin were not seeing eye and eye. But let me tell you, coming together of the Deputy President and the President Uhuru brought what we call calm in that particular area, and at least there was a continuity in life there. I would say any payment that was paid, I don't totally want to distance myself, and I would say anybody with the fact must put the facts on the table, because there is such an issue that I am aware of. And I am more inside in this than Majiwa. So when Majiwa want to tell us that actually he's very much aware, I think he can put his facts on the table, but we cannot operate on a hearsay, because actually propagandas have been created and many have been created, but they are neither here nor there. In the issue and element of the leadership between, or the departing leadership between the head of state and his deputy, let me say this. There is no single day that the deputy president has ever moved to Central Region or any other region of this Republic of Kenya, owning a project as if it's his own contribution. Anything that he opens in the Republic of Kenya is a project of the government of the day. Okay. And this is what has been happening. If the president was not comfortable with that, then it is like, yes, he realized that the deputy president is becoming so popular by opening this project. And at a certain time, he decided to terminate that particular procedure. And after terminating it, that did not stop the popularity of this fellow. This tells you that that was not the cause. Okay. And therefore, the president is now looking to another angle to still push or terminate the popular of this fellow, which is now the heart of our nation. Okay. And I can tell you, even though he comes in with this particular angle of bringing laws and whatnot to terminate this, I am telling you the fellowship will still move on. Because when time comes, and good times come for whether people like you or not, here I would say, in issue to do with the leadership, it is the people and God. If the majority of Kenyans will decide it is Ruto, nobody will say no. The president is in the record saying he's not going to leave the country to this. All right. And I can tell you for sure, Linda, remember the point Prato, when Jesus was crucified, he asked the public, whom do you want to be released? They said, release Baramba. Yes. And what about this fellow? Crucify him. In this particular case, the Kenya will decide. If they will decide for him, they will go for him.
All right. Yes. So who is this thing that we're talking about here?
Let Gakuya not mislead you. Okay. Because Gakuya must know that one Moses Kuria is closer to DP than him. Right. When Moses Kuria goes out there and says the projects belong to the DP, Gakuya has no business disputing that, because that man is closer to DP and he's done more work to DP than him. Right. Gakuya is just starting the other day. And Linda, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
There was nothing that was done under the carpet that we don't know.
It is open. It is an open secret.
More than ours.
Moses
has just come to Jubilee through handshake.
The president seems to know the house more.
You know what Gakuya is forgetting? Yes. That is telling us here today that the unity between the DP and Uhuru brought peace in this country. What he's forgetting is that the handshake brought even more peace in this country than ever before.
The handshake has been blamed for causing trouble in Jubilee.
That is their narrative. Yes. Because it has now made them not rob Uhuru the way they were robbing Uhuru. Okay. Because Uhuru was actually under arrest.
But we are missing nothing. All right. We are losing nothing and we are missing nothing.
But Kenyans are losing so much because we are
and Uhuru has just escaped from the arrest. Okay. So he's now outside there and about doing his job. So that is where the problem is, because these fellows Uhuru gave them an opportunity
I believe what Majua and his team of hardship should be doing is to assist the president to do what they think that the deputy was not doing.
Instead,
that's why they came in. They came in to assist him. Yes, but they should not always
we are not in government. We are not in government.
Let's have much capability. And we acknowledge that we are not in government.
We are not in government, Linda. They cannot. We are not in government.
The DP is as well in
government. We are not in government.
We are not in government. The DP is in officially.
We don't even have one single cabinet minister. You know, Gakuya does not know how the government is formed. The government has structures. We are not in any government structures.
We have Senate. They are now under the control of the ODM. These are not the case. What are the government you want to be?
We have a clear structure of a government.
You have taken the control of the national assembly.
Let's have
how are we the government?
You see, the only way that people are able to hear what it is, they are, you're not in government, but they say you're in. They are as well in government.
It is their failure.
They are as well in government.
You know, when they are failing, when Uhuru has discovered the wrong things they were doing, Uhuru is now like giving them no opportunity to do the wrong things. They want to blame it on Raila because they think Raila has opened Uhuru's eyes. But Uhuru has just discovered the things they were doing to him.
Who's playing? Who is the question that we still have? Let's allow Goko to come in.
Since they are given opportunity, this him assist the head of state to seal those points that they think the DP and his team are not doing. We are already out.
Then get out of the government. Get out of the government. Don't fear arrest. They should get out of the government. They should not fear arrest.
Let's allow. Yes.
It's very easy to play politics with things that we see. But it's always right to speak things that are true. Yesterday, all this has been there. And Mheshimiwa Gakuya here is saying that ODM is in government. Mheshimiwa here is saying ODM is not in government. But what is government? Government is an administrative unit of a ruling party. So Jubilee Party has government today. What is opposition? Opposition is the second most party that does check and balance in government. Now, what Tanga is not accepting and owning up is that the contemporary ways of opposition have moved from the confrontational days of demonstrations to the modern days of policy. Because we have seen ODM support government when government is doing right. And we have seen ODM put government to task when it's not doing right. That to me is what we call modern opposition. Because opposing each other is not a business of agreeing and saying yes or no, or having a single song of no, 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 even if when it's right. And that's what the president brought into BBI. He said, where we've moved from the ideas of blood, I'm an ODM member, I see nothing good in government. To a nation of ideas, I'm an ODM member, yes, but this government is doing right, and this government is doing wrong. We've seen ANC and Wiper restatements bringing government to task. What the deputy president and his team wanted is a political confrontation of every day in, day out. And that's what ODM denied them.
Wouldn't you want the same if you feel at some point that maybe the agreements that you had or the hopes that you had are being quashed by some level of shortchange?
And I've repeated here, can Tanga or whoever they are, can they give us in writing, all on principle, that when ODM came, we had budgeted for 10,000 kilometers of road, but now they have reduced it to 6,000.
Okay.
When ODM came, we had 18 cabinet members. Now there's a cabinet reshuffle, and 6 of our members were taken away and replaced with ODM member. When ODM joined hands with the president, because let's look at, we forget very fast, before handshake, there were demonstrations every day. Before handshake, business were going down. Before handshake, the unity of purpose was not there. Today, this country has a unity of purpose that anyone
segregates
can go
a certain
anywhere. Anyone can go anywhere. But let's call out as it is. The politics of street politics Monday to Friday is what Tanga misses to face off with ODM. It's not that ODM interrupted government. It did not.
It is in the capacity of ODM, or Right Honorable Raila Odinga, to try and create more peace, or so to speak, in the event that there is some level of, these voices that tend to dissent what it is that is happening. Don't you think they are justified to proceed and say that indeed ODM came in to distract activities in the government? Because in as much as we're talking peace, within Jubilee Party there is no peace.
Jubilee Party lacked peace, not because ODM went in. No.
What can they do in their capacity?
They lacked peace because some of their members disobeyed their leader.
Okay.
It's that simple.
Let's allow Honorable Majiwa. Let's allow Honorable Majiwa to come in. At what
capacity?
It's also very clear.
Yes, let's have the microphone.
If you look at all this, you realize that the peace that is not in Jubilee Party is because of the dishonesty among their leaders, who are working with Uhuru with a lot of dishonesty, and because they had put Uhuru under arrest because we helped you get this seat when everybody else left you, now you have to do what we want. And what they wanted Uhuru to allow them to do was not so good for Kenyans, so they were actually having him under arrest. So the coming of handshake and Honorable Raila has given Uhuru some backing to make him now say, no, that is wrong, this is right. So the only mistake.
What are some of these things that we're looking at that would probably be pointed and we say that, you know what, as this Tanga side, they were trying to misguide the president. They were directing the president, in a direction that is not wrong. And why is it that it has taken so long for the president to come out and acknowledge the same?
You know, it took him so long because actually when you get the first election, you tend to be calm so that you get the second one. That's the nature. Politicians.
Can you let's have the microphone?
Their nature is that when they are elected and there's another election coming ahead, they want to be smart boys so that they get the next one. And Uhuru, because he knew he wanted the second term, he did not want to get into trouble with these fellows. So he allowed them their way to do what they wanted in the name of supporting him to get the second, even getting the second election, which we are now seeing them making noise that they helped Uhuru get the second election. We have also been told that it was stolen. Themselves, they have told us it was stolen. So they only helped Uhuru steal. They didn't even help him genuinely to win. Okay. So it's not even something they can claim, come out here and claim that they did something to Uhuru. They have come out here and told Kenyans openly that we stole this election. Nobody won the election here. They have told Kenyans here that Raila has been winning this election from 2007.
Okay.
They've told us.
Why would Raila be very comfortable working with someone who stole?
Because he's a peace-loving guy. He's a peace-loving guy, yeah.
Is it so?
He doesn't want to create more problems. That is why he even went to Uhuru Park and saw himself and again went back and
that was peace-loving?
Shook hands with Uhuru.
Okay.
Yes, to demonstrate that I had the people. Because he had the people.
Okay, hold it right there.
In the Uhuru Park.
All right, people are watching. We have a couple of messages coming in. And JT says that these guys are not new in Siasa, or he wants to believe so. Because in Siasa today you say this, the other time you say something else. So today, it's such the case. He says it's the very same case with President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto and all these other leaders. It's got nothing to do with political debt, has got nothing to do with who robbed who or what is robbing him or who is not doing what. And we all agree to that.
Leader, what my take in this is that we are, on the onset, it is not explainable by anybody. At what point did the Tanga faction denied the government its due at any moment? If it is bills of parliament where the government wanted support and whole support, tell me any single bill that was dropped by the faction of Tanga because of politics, or tell me any single budget, national budget, that was never successful because of these political wars. This tells you that no single government schedule has ever been distracted by the factions. It's only that, let me tell you, when you are not comfortable, you must talk. And politicians must talk because actually they are elected to speak on behalf. And when they speak, it does not mean that that's criminal. It's not. But you cannot just blame them and tell them you have denied the government to work. How? Just proof. Tell us our duty is to, one, represent, register. Tell us what registration have we failed to register for on behalf of Kenya. Tell us in a single one. We are in, here we have what we call the pandemic issue. The handshake is inside. We have created billionaires in what we call KEMSA. The ODM is not speaking about it, not talking about it. They are telling us that actually they speak when things are wrong. What about this one? They are not speaking about it. They are silent. Is it because they are compromising with it or what? So if they are serious supporting the government, why are not criminalizing things that are going on today in the same government?
All right, Goko.
It's that simple. It's that simple. And that narrows down to what I'm saying. We have seen Deputy President launch non-existing projects. Not in the budget, not in the not in the said ministry.
But we have also seen President Uhuru Kenyatta saying, ukiona hii jamaa inarandaranda huko jua, he's been sent by me.
Yes, but you see, if you said a reporter here to go and cover a specific news, they can decide to cover others. So until they come back with a report, then you can say, I sent you to do this, not this and this and this. That aside, the role of ODM is not, and I'm supporting ODM here because I'm looking at ODM as all NASA as the political, as the opposition coalition. We have a history of putting checks and balance to specific people. So the idea of I'm in government, I'll still until the opposition speaks. the issue of KEMSA is not under ODM. It is under the Constitution of Kenya.
But you also agree that minus the handshake, ODM would be making noise, so much noise in regards to these two.
Why make
enough that they would have, you know, yesterday I had legislators here and they have acknowledged.
The same way they made noise about Eurobond, the same way they made noise about Aurora and Kimarer, and nothing happened today.
Let's agree that it's not as much.
You see, Linda, what you must understand.
They have gotten to that point, they realize it's not happening.
What you must understand is the elements of peace. When now you are saying somebody we want to work together,
you shelve the negatives.
You have to tell them that this thing is wrong. Okay. It's not the same way you'll tell them when you are far away from them. When you are far away from them, you'll tend to shout because you are not near them. Okay. But now when you are closer to them, you have an opportunity to tell them this thing is wrong. Fix it up. And that is what we have been doing. Every scandal in this government, we have talked about it. We have not been keeping quiet. Only that the tone that we are using now cannot be the same because we are closer to them.
There are voices that speak that you have also been part and parcel of this scandal of KEMSA that we are talking about.
We have given them an opportunity to table the evidence. If they talk of somebody being part of what, they have not tabled anything.
For the very same reason,
we are told them who are making noise here are the ones who are part of that scandal.
That's what I'm saying. And we as Kenyans must shift our mindset to the contemporary government, to the new ways of government, new ways of politics, because
even when they're not working, even when the debates in parliament are not as healthy
why we have BBI today is because from 2010 to 2020 we have discovered some of the laws that we made cannot work in the modern way. So that way we are shifting some of them. One of them is the corruption cases. They have a time frame. Others is once you are implicated, you have to step down and your case has to be heard within this specific time. If we wait for opposition to speak, just because we in government cannot speak, and I don't see why a Jubilee parliamentarian cannot point out theft in government, just because he sits on the government side of the floor. There's nothing. Oversight and registration are not restricted to which side of the floor you sit on.
I had members of parliament here and they said that sadly that is what happens in parliament today, that you speak on basis of what party you align yourself to. If you go against that particular party,
that is happening in parliament today because Kenyans voted the wrong people.
Did we vote the wrong people in you, Mheshimiwa?
I believe no. The answer is no, because for sure Kenyans choose from a list. And let me tell you, in any contention leader, you find that there is no single person who sails through unopposed. There is always a contention. And therefore, it's the duty of the Wanjiku to choose amongst the list. And therefore, you can't stand here to tell Wanjiku, choose the wrong people. Wanjiku, choose the right people. But let me tell you, micromanagement of these members of parliament is on the high gear as far as the prosecuting issues of the house are concerned. And I can tell you, Rita, today, one is that ODM has taken away the chairmanships of most of the committees which are supposed to be dealing with witch dogs of these particular areas of corruption and everything. You find that they are the people sitting on these particular dockets. They are doing zero in terms of prosecuting these matters. Who else? Where else?
Can you give us one case where they prosecuted when they were sitting on those positions?
Tell us
one case where they prosecuted a corruption case when they were sitting on those committees.
Let us be told.
Which committee? No. Which committee in specific?
Let's hold it. Let's allow him to speak. Yes.
Allow me. Give me a time.
Yes.
Yes. We have two committees, which are very pertinent committees in the House. Those two committees belongs to opposition.
Yes, they are.
For corruption cases?
They are.
Prosecute corruption cases? Are those committees responsible for prosecuting corruption cases?
These are the committees that are enshrined by the Constitution to take charge of any wrongdoings.
Did you prosecute any corruption case during the time you were sitting on them? Because there has been corruption all along. Give us an example which you did during the time you were sitting on them. Don't blame ODM now.
Probably I have not been a member of the two.
No, you are people. You are talking on behalf of your people. You are party. Tell us, those who are sitting in those committees, did they do anything that you can present now?
But we cannot look at what happened negatively and stick to that. The reason why there was change, but no, the reason why there was change is because there was need for them to do something. And so if nothing is happening, even
that PSC
we have the
pack on newspaper.
The pack and pick are the two entrusted committees to deal with these issues
that are not doing what is expected.
But I can tell you, they are zero-rated. They are as if they are not there.
So they're as bad as it was when
I can tell you,
people
it's better when the matters were there before. This is their law, and as matters the constitution, whether the government is Jubilee or ODM, the two positions automatically goes to the opposition. But I am telling you,
let's allow him to finish.
They have not been seen working or doing the right things they are supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Linda.
And I can tell you, if we are failing because actually the parliament, those committees are asleep.
And so if they did not do what they were expected to do then, Honorable Najua, allow me to ask this question. If they did not do what they were expected to do back then, and then there was change of guard, and these other ones came on board, it is because we were seeking to see change. So if we do not see this change again, we question.
How long is that supposed to happen?
All right.
Yeah,
Page 12.
Question.
Page
How
12.
long have they been there?
Okay.
That is the question.
These committees have been there.
Gakuya should tell us.
We've seen people with change of guard and people start working instantly. Page 12 of what?
Page 12 of the Standard newspaper.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
No, let's talk with facts. CS Karaoke in a spot for spending 2 million on toilets and catering.
Yes.
Go to paragraph 3. Members of the Public Account Committee yesterday. So we are talking about hearsays.
Yes.
This is the same pack Mheshimiwa here is saying they are not doing their role. Yet they have invited a CS of cabinet to answer to expenditure.
Right.
So what other role are we expecting PAC to do in parliament?
Okay.
Making recommendations after hearing these issues. Where are the recommendations?
Where are the recommendations?
Well, Linda.
Yes.
Recommendations cannot come before the inquiry is closed.
All right.
Yes. We have to close the inquiry, then we do a recommendation. But
And
what Honorable Gakuya is not telling people that even in parliament there are so many recommendations which are just catching dust.
Yes.
There are so many.
Yes.
And he should take his position as a member of parliament in the floor of the house and ask
why.
those committees why they are not working. That is his job.
All right.
He's telling Kenyans he's failing.
Okay.
Yes, and by
His job
virtue,
in the
and
floor
that's
of the
what I'm
house.
saying.
That
They
is what
say
he
they
should
have
be
been
doing.
micromanaged
No.
in a
He
huge
should
way and
say in
that
the
they're
floor
not
of the
able
house.
to. Yes.
Let us see him in the floor of the house.
And that's what I'm
saying
saying.
that.
And that's what I'm saying.
All right.
This politics ya barabarani is what we are very good at. Because when we go to what needs to be done, we don't do it. But when we step out, yesterday the PS Interior said on a vernacular station he was that Honorable Kangata lied on microphone that he was told to apologize. Yet the meeting that was attended by the Jubilee parliamentarian and representative of government, nothing of that
was
happened. Yes, the PS. So if the PS was not bold enough to come out clean, the whole world would have known that Mheshimiwa Kangata was whipped for not apologizing.
Yes.
That is what we must call dishonesty, is what we might call out.
Right.
Whether in government or whether in opposition, for the goodwill of this country, we must start for what is correct and what is right. And the moment they start seeing, and like I said, the politicians saw a gap that they were good to maneuver around. And that's what they have been using to lie to people. You one day wake up and say, Uhuru akushinda. The following day you wake up and say, oh, now we did this.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not right. Yet, you are saying the president has not done anything, and you are stepping on a tarmac that has been built by the same president. Just because there's no cabinet secretary in that, there's no cabinet secretary in that entrouge at that moment to respond.
Okay.
There's no PS in that entrouge to respond. There's no CAS in that motorcade or in that church service to respond. And that's where the gap is. And the reason why the president could have sent his cabinet out is for that purpose. Even if quite a number of them have no political background, but it's for the good and the will of the people. What Tanga parliamentarians are not accepting is they abandoned their duty to support the president and embarked on a new journey to create the next
Honorable
government.
William Kafogo speaks to the DP, in his own wise words, so to speak. He says, it is time that you also go out there and fight, because from Central Region, let nobody lie to you that you will be given this as expected. And so don't you think it was justified for the DP to start these early campaigns, having been told by one of their own that, if you're waiting, I'm afraid you will not be able to get something. After all, we all have interest. Honorable Majiwa, I know you have your own interest for that matter. And so politicians are paid to politic.
But Linda, that is the truth. Even Honorable Gakuya, my friend, knows how Kikuyus change last minute.
All right.
Yeah, we have done politics with them.
Yes.
So Kabogo only told Ruto
the DP the truth. So what is wrong with him going out there and trying
out there to start campaigning?
Yes.
Simply get out of the government, because the government is supposed to be working now. The government is not supposed to be campaigning now.
Okay.
If he's inside the government and he goes out to campaign, let him leave the government kabisa, so that we see him campaigning. Nobody will quarrel with them.
BBI and
because they'll be using government resources to do their own personal campaigns.
BBI, pushing for BBI is a state project, so if that's a government project, that is for the sake of the common Mwananchi, is what we elected Jubilee to bring us?
That one is a project for peace.
Okay.
Yeah, peace initiative for the country is a very important project for the government.
Okay.
Government must have peace to work for the people.
All
they
right.
cannot work for people who are not at peace.
These are politicians, and they always talk with double edge. Now, when it's not on their favor, they deny.
Okay.
When it is on their favor, they support. In this particular case, what is so different between rhetoric of political gatherings all over advocating about BBI scenario? Are those not politics? Are they not waste of time? Are they not disorganizing people? If really you want to say that the president is the one who is causing trouble because he's doing other politics, and his politics are only during Sundays. Sundays, where do you want him to go? Where do you want him to go? Where do you want him to go? Let me read that, listen to me. Deputy President, wherever he has been going because there is an open, either a handing over of a project or commencement of a project.
What project?
And in that particular project, you cannot give people only a food for project. Yes. You must also give people a hope of politics tomorrow. In terms of BAMA politics and the dry politics, these are different scenario, because the president opening the doors for politics. When he opens the door for BBI, it's like giving what we call an open check to every politician. Yes. Move to politics, and there is no way you can tell us we have a referendum in this particular year. It tells us this is a political year. Next year we have a general election. It's another political year. So who is that fool? Who is staying in the house? We're just expecting you to give him a license to start politics.
BBI is not a political process. It is a constitutional process. And the BBI report, the 200 plus pages, covers so many points, so many recommendations, a 9-point agenda. Linda, I sat in 90% of the BBI task force meetings. And the 9-point agenda, in the committee, there were only, I think, 2 politicians, Senator Amos Wako and Senator Yusuf Haji, and Mheshimiwa Women Rep Samburu, if I'm not wrong. The rest were clergies, elders, and constitutional experts. At the Secretariat, Ambassador Dr. Karau was not a politician. It is a state project, which is a constitutional process.
It's equally a political process.
So, constitution is a political affair.
Yes.
Constitution is a political affair.
Right.
So,
when we talk
then
about where does the politicians come in? If the process was gradual,
the politician comes in because
they have to push for this.
One of the recommendations involves a constitutional amendment process. Yes. That's why we have the county assemblies today. That's why we have everybody on board today. So, but that hypocrisy of hiding, and like the president has said, and even the principal Raila Odinga said, kuna tofauti ya BBI na 2022. So we cannot marry the two just because we want to be seen to be part of it.
But BBI is going to determine what game we will play.
BBI will come and go, but this nation will remain. 2022 is one of the many elections in this country which has happened in the past and will happen in the future.
Honorable Majura.
I want to tell my friend Honorable Gakuya to just keep calm. Tell his boss to keep calm. You know, they always want to enjoy what people have worked for. Now they're enjoying the seat of the DP. They opposed the constitution in 2010, but now they're enjoying a creation of that constitution 2010. Then they were opposing, telling us we can amend another later. Now time for amending has come. They still want us not to amend, but if we amend this one tomorrow, they'll be the beneficiaries. So we ask them, just relax. We are going to create for you things that you like the one you are enjoying now. We created it when you did not want it. So this constitution, we have to amend it anyhow. It's not about time. It is time for us to amend the constitution, because constitution is what guides us in this country. But we have to make it right. If it is not right, we can't be right ourselves.
Shall we be always mutilating constitution because of failure to accept the verdict?
Okay.
Yes, because all these are shenanigans created by lack of accepting defeat.
All right.
And who is enjoying the seat today? Who is enjoying the seat today?
Leader, I can tell you.
I think they're not even enjoying the seat. They are dying in there.
Tell them to walk out.
Not wrong.
Tell them to leave.
It's not wrong when actually I can beat you using my own game.
All right.
Yes. But you enjoy peacefully.
After all. Gentlemen, I'm surprised the time is over. I am surprised. 30 seconds. I am surprised myself.
30 seconds.
Yes.
30 seconds. I would want to pay legacy to Senator Yusuf Haji once again.
Right.
He was a good man, and all of us here may be a joint part and parcel of his work. And if we look at things the way he looked at them, because I worked with him for a year.
Yes.
And if you look at things from the way he looked at them, at one point in Northeastern, he told the elders that if we don't allow the women to speak in our presence, that our children will suffer as the whole nation moves forward.
Yeah.
So it's the same ideology I want to live today with. If we don't allow our youth to speak in the presence of the elders, then the future of this nation is at risk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Honorable James Gakuya, Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, Honorable Geoffrey Majiwa, Deputy Speaker of Nairobi, and lastly, Rongo Goko, Governance Expert. It was good having you. Time has flown just like that, and we have not even touched on some of the things that I wanted us to touch on, but all the same, it was indeed a good discussion this morning. We're crossing over to a different one altogether after this break on Matters Relationships.
When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant. And the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant and the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. When the clock strikes 7:30 p.m. every Monday, it means it's time for...
The biggest challenge of starting a business in Kenya is the layers of licenses you need to pay.
The Grind. We tell you the do's and don'ts of business.
But the biggest fear was whether I'm going to make it in business or whether I'll lose my 150,000.
I say business is not about how much capital you have.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. It's been an amazing year in the kitchen here on The Throwdown. We brought you ugali and brown fish by Sophia. The tasty butter chicken from the classic Mayura restaurant and the sweet Oreo cake dessert by Lillian. This year, we bring you bigger and better from more mouth-watering meals, kitchen hacks, restaurant reviews, and even street foods. Tune in to The Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. When the clock strikes 7, the home of Untold Stories.
Marriage of convenience, marrying game, marrying deal, marriage being but a dream. All these words are probably words that you've, listened to or you've heard recently. And initially it was just marriage and that was it. And today we are adding a lot of other things therein. The question then lingers, just what happened to marriage? Is marriage in existence after all? Is it a game? Is it a deal? Is it what? For what reason do you decide that you want to get married? Why is it that when we get to marriage today, it is very easy to wake up and say, you know what, I'm over and done with this, and you're out. Unlike back then when things were different. Well, I am not saying that because I was living back then, but at least we've seen it from our very own parents. And they kept saying with the generational changes, you realize that people are not able to sit in there. I mean, when you empower a woman, then they have the confidence to walk out anytime they want to. In most cases, you've seen women being blamed for marriages that have crumbled down. But then again, today is a whole different affair. Probably people are taking it a little bit higher or a notch higher, in the sense that some, they will tell you, you know what, we don't even necessarily have to get married. How about we just have an agreement, you give me a baby and that's it. How about we have an agreement, give me that paper so I'm able to, reside in your country, and then after that we divorce comfortably and we make a deal and we all benefit and we all go our way. Just what is happening in marriage. So that's exactly what we'll be discussing this morning alongside Agnes Nonsizi, who's a publicist. That's a pretty much hard word to pronounce, but I hope I've done justice to it. And we also have CJ Artemo, who's a life coach. And I'll start off by asking Nonsizi, allow me to break the rules.
No problem.
Say men before.
We're allowed.
Is marriage in existence at all?
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is. I think with anything, and especially now, like from a journalistic perspective,
right?
They say that when the dog bites the man, that's not news.
That's not news, yeah.
When the man bites the dog, that's news. So you'll most probably hear more about the things that are going wrong than the things that are going right.
Mm-hmm.
And it will create the perception that nothing is going right.
Mm-hmm.
You'll not hear anybody celebrating people who have been married for 40 years and it's blissful. You'll not hear people who are talking about people who treat each other with respect.
Mm-hmm.
But if something happens to, and especially those who are in the public, for example, they break up today, it trends. So it gives this perception and this notion that things are not working, mostly because of what is focused on. But there are a lot of people out there who are working it out.
Just how many of these are in existence today? Very many. Yes. Wow. All right. Okay. Tell me more.
What you look for is what you get. Okay. And I would concur with Atemo, because especially, I don't know why media has a way of broadcasting, unfortunately, the negatives.
Okay.
Aliachwa, the wife went,
Yeah.
But if you get into marriage with the right perspective, and it's not easy, my friend, you and your siblings fight. You and your mother, they're partners, they're siblings who don't look at each other eye to eye.
Right.
Why would you think that this person who you're not related, it will be a walk down, it's so easy. So it's not, but we get in already because of what is going around. You get in with the wrong mentality.
All right.
You get in with, if this is hard, I want to go. We have options.
Right.
We have options.
I'm glad that you say you get in with the mentality of what is going around. So in a way, that is an acknowledgement that there is a problem
because
within this
what
marriage
is being broadcasted. Marriages have always had problems since ages. Even if you go back to the Bible, Kwani, when David was doing whatever he was doing, you know what I'm saying, killing Uriah and all those. It's always, because if you chunguza even Adam and Eve, probably they had issues.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the issues, what makes it different, or what makes it different today, that we're not able to, stand with the issues that were there back then and, hold this setup together? What makes it different that, we are all excited nowadays as media to speak about the negatives as opposed to the positives? I mean, isn't it because that's exactly what we are being treated to?
Well, I love saying this, that the older generation loved to repair things. This generation loves to replace things.
All right.
If it is not working, if it is broken, we replace. With them, they would stick with the same car, stick with the same radio, stick with the same shoe, go and find a cobbler who will keep on fixing the sole. They had a mentality of fixing things. Like, problems were not the end of anything. We are very hooked to convenience. And we have this picture of perfection, which mostly is very idealistic. It doesn't exist. So we're in the pursuit of something that does not exist.
All right.
Probably again because we're exposed to much more. We see a lot more than our parents did. The exposure could have been just the village around, the relatives around. So everybody will be talking about, look, these things happen. And they did not feel like it was odd for them to have issues in the family. So they had the communal support. We, on the other hand, will be looking at who is out over there, who is trying, who seems to be making it, who is successful, who is famous. And then we want to fit into that picture, not really knowing the truth about them. As we keep on trying to pursue this perfection, we find that it is a mirage. So we keep replacing If I date somebody and I find that they're not doing one thing right, I leave them, because in my mind there is somebody that exists that I'm trying to meet. That has made us become very intolerant to imperfection.
All right, he's a life coach, and I'll come back with this question to him. What would he tell me today if things are not working well? What would he tell me today if I am battered every day? Would he tell me today if he is cheating on me? Would he tell me that, do not focus on replacing, focus on repairing? Would you tell me the same thing? Well, before you answer that, let's come to Nonsizi. And he acknowledges that, back then there was that societal support, existence, and, it was more or less like a societal affair. Today, even in how we're living in our very own flats, estates, how many of the people that stay around you do you know? Probably you could be knowing them, because I know Nonsizi as a talkative person, or some of them would be knowing her because, she is a public figure. But just how genuine are we when it comes to that aspect of saying that, there's that societal aspect, communal approach towards addressing issues. And in most cases, you'd find that you die in your own home with your own issues. Nobody to run to, nobody to advise you on how you can repair this.
Well, it's because nowadays we mind our own business. I'm like, where kila mtu ako na mashida zake. But again, if you're a parent, you have to know your neighbors. Yes, it is necessary. That's for sure. There's things that come automatically because, like, if your child go knock into the neighbor's door with a bicycle, you have to But to add that, it's because the same thing. You have to be very careful when sharing marital problems. Not everybody, because not everybody has the same approach as you. Majority of the people, they will give you options of, and why don't you leave him? So okay, so you're stable, so you're earning your own money. Why are you with him in the first place? We are not for marriage. Majority are not for marriage works, and I can say that they are for replacing, as opposed to both of you sitting down and saying, okay, where is the problem? And this is what I've learned with time. You will never get anybody who is 100%, but is the 80% working?
All right,
great. Can you live with the 20% that is not working? Okay, you get what I'm saying? Because it's about compromise. How far can you compromise? What can you sacrifice without also losing yourself in the process? So yeah, that's it. You don't go sharing, and especially, and in your early years in marriage, you share your problem with people, and then you're like, oh, and how did this get here? So you have to be very, very careful who you go to, because one thing, are you on the same? Do you want it to work, or are you going to someone who is giving you options of out all the time?
Okay, and so allow me to call you Mr. Life Coach. So today, I come to you and I tell you all that I have complained about. Would you tell me, try and repair this?
Well, every situation must be isolated. There's no blanket advice to anything that is marital or relational. And even different families or different couples will have to have different prescriptions to their issues. Because you have to also find out what are the underlying issues. The underlying issues in one couple may be different from the other. Why people act in a certain way in one relationship may be different from the other. You got to go back to what exactly makes these people act the way they're acting. Generally, if I sit down with a couple that has had, of course, violence is something else. That's when we will always say, look, be safe.
But violence was there back then. That our mothers would tell you that, well, that's when you get to gauge whether he loves you or not.
Well, you see, now we have a cultural shift as well to it. There was a way that they stayed in as well, because they wouldn't go back to their parents who would tell them, go back to your husband. They were not going to rent their flats because they were being taken care of by their husbands. They were not going to leave the children. There were a lot of factors that made them stay in there and take a lot that they shouldn't have. The thing is that whereas we cannot throw away everything that was in that generation, we cannot take everything that was in that generation as well. So we cannot take abuse from it. But when a couple has had an issue and you want to deal with this, I think the first thing to establish is, what do they want? If they want to work it out, you can always find a way to work it out. If they don't want to work it out, no matter how many times you sit down, discuss, dissect, diagnose, you are going nowhere.
Right.
So it's always very important to establish from the very beginning. Nonsense said, is the 80% worth it? If you think it is worth, then can we work it? Can we try and salvage what works in this relationship as we fix the things that don't work? And can we look at what cannot be fixed? Because some things are not going to change. You're not going to change somebody completely. There are certain things that you'll just have to make up your mind and say, okay, I think I will live with that. So we have to look at the things that you are willing to compromise on, whether those things are putting you at risk or those things are compromising your values as well. It has got to be each relationship very differently.
All right. I don't know whether this is an undoing of the media from what we started by saying that, it's about the media painting it all dark and all blur for that matter. But Nonsizi, you speak about 80% that works. I do not know whether you have had a chance to speak to people around to just do your own simple special analysis and establish whether there's 80% that works in the current generation. Let's talk about the contemporary marriage with the cultural changes that you speak about, with the changes that we witness today, with the fact that sometimes you want to appear as though you're good in society, that is all perfect, and you cover up a lot of things. Do you realize that there are many people who are in that setup of marriage acting like it's all good, but in real sense it's not even 30% good?
First of all, when you're getting married for you and your partner, not for the world. I don't care about people, because they're the same. They want information, and the minute this generation will realize that, the moment you realize, hey, at the end of the day, it's me who is gonna get back to the house with this person, that's when you start.
Breathe in, breathe out. Pause it right there. Let's be honest, let's be genuine, let's be real. Is it always very easy to get to that point where you say, what? No. Overlook everything that happens around you?
It takes a mind shift.
Yes.
It takes a lot of self-search. It takes a lot of, why did I get into this in the first place? It takes a lot, do I want to be with this person? It takes a lot of soul searching, because marriage is not for the people. It's both of you. You sit down with yourselves and you see, situations are very different for different people. There are people who will find themselves, hey, you've settled down and you've not even seen that. You see the way you're like, hey, I've seen this person, I want to settle down with them, and then you work things out. And again, there are those people who will do the right things, going down to church and doing everything, then it doesn't work. People are different, and that's why first of all, you have to look for the information in the right places. You have to be with people who are on the same journey with you. So are you together? And you started with saying marriage for convenience. People want to be married because I don't want to be poor, and I'm going to marry into a rich family. And it's okay. You see, by the time you're getting into it, if your goal is that, please can you live with the repercussions of that?
Okay.
Yeah? It's boils down to individual, because the people who do that intentionally, I want to get a visa.
Okay.
But you're forgetting, once you lock yourself into the house with that person, the visa then gone. It's not going to matter.
Right.
Yani, let me tell you, marriage is so complicated. And not it's a lifetime decision, my friend. You will see this face every morning. Nazila vitu zako as a match of him.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's ugly. It has its beauty side, and also it has its own special challenges that needs a lot of maturity. And and this is something that I've always wanted to ask, I don't think you should settle down in your early ages. I don't know.
Let's talk that.
And
yes.
I don't know. I feel like
I don't even know what early ages would mean then. And speaking of which, when we're talking about settling down, during your early ages, there's also that fear of, well, nikichelewa kidogo pia, kuna vile I will not get the real deal. Heri uchelewa, is it? Mimi afadhali nipate and I get the good deal as opposed to kuchelewa. And sometimes the women have so much. That is the question now. Tell us, Mr. Life Coach, what? Nonsense usiharibu sasa. 50,
I don't know why Nonsense took over the show. But generally, for me, my philosophy is that it's not the age, it's the stage. It's the stage. You could be 22 but you had to mature faster. Probably because of circumstances. Maybe your parents died, or they just went away, or you had to grow up with certain relatives.
What is this thing that brings maturity? Let's ask that in the first place, because I can tell you for free, what I was at 22 is totally different from what I am today. What I was at 26 is totally different from what I am today. And I just don't know whether it's the things that I have experienced, it's the age, or just what exactly.
Experiences, responsibilities, the ability to gather information and apply that information correctly. Knowing that every decision that you're making has repercussions, both for you and other people, and not just for now, but also into the future.
Right.
So when somebody matures a bit, because they get to know that they're not just doing things for themselves, they may slow down in their decision making, because they're always thinking about how will this impact on the next person and the next person. So getting back to what I was saying, if you look at children, for example, who had to grow up fast, they may even look reserved. They had to give up a lot maybe for their siblings. They had to go and work while they were young. They had to be very available for other people. They had to co-parent and things like that.
Right.
Some of those people develop faster. So when they come into something like a relationship, they have a more realistic view of what this entails. There are people who are 35, but they will still act like they're 15. They cannot handle pressure. They do not have the emotional, the mental, the intellectual capacity to be in a relationship. And somebody needs to be very honest with themselves. Am I in the stage that I can share my life with somebody else?
All right. What if you're ready and you feel like, yes, you are in that stage? Then you meet this other party who's not in a similar stage or even a better stage.
Well, and now you see, those are the kind of choices that we've got to make. And that's where now the question of why are you getting into it? If I am ready, the other person is not ready, I'm not going to relate with myself. The relationship must be something that both of us want. If they're not ready and I am ready, and we're going in, they're either doing it for me as a favor, which is a very bad thing to do, or they're doing it for me out of pity, which is a bad thing to do, or I'm forcing that relationship. We must both want it. If we don't both want it, we will not both fight for it.
All right.
So it will be a very one-sided relationship where one person keeps on making the effort, investing in it, the time, the resource, the money, the emotions, while the other person is just there. And they'll keep on saying like, you know, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to settle. You will hear stories of people who have related for maybe 5 years, and one person keeps on saying, I'm not ready to settle. And the other person is really invested in it. It is worse when the lady is invested in it and the man is not, because the lady is very conscious of the fact that, you know, I don't want to be late. Time is passing. But the man is like, I'm not ready yet. Most times, what men think is readiness is financial.
Okay.
They don't think about the emotional aspect. They don't think about the mental. They don't think about whether they will be present in that relationship. They're just thinking, if I have the money, then I'm fine. There are men who have money.
But sometimes there's a way that money works that really makes this thing happen, you know? And
but
yes.
Again, there are men who have money, but their partners or their wives feel very neglected because this person does not understand the emotional presence that he needs to bring into that relationship. They don't understand that they've got to listen. They don't understand that they've got to communicate. So they think, I've provided for you everything. You are fine. Even if he's not there every day, he feels like you're fine. You need anything, call me. I'll send you a driver. The driver will take you, pick the things that you need. The children are taken care of. They don't realize that this woman got into this relationship to relate with him, not just the things.
All right. And when people are looking from outside, Nunsizi, they feel like, well, that one is complete. That woman gets almost everything that she wants. Her kids are in school, blah, blah, blah. It is all rosy. And so you blame the media for speaking out of the numerous negatives that
You're not letting that
I am
go.
here, and I'm not letting that go because I am in defense of us. I am in defense of us. And so I'll have to say it. Sometimes we speak of what is there, what is laid bare, the stories that, you know, people are willing to speak about. But in most cases, we probably do not have some of these successful stories out here, you know, in the public domain. We do not find them willing to speak about. Do you suppose there's that fire that is underneath, that burns from within, that probably causes these people to keep silent, yet it is not all rosy?
What I can say is,
and I remember we had this conversation with the couples last time, Nobody wants to showcase their failures because you don't know how it will be perceived. And like I said, marriage, for those who realize, it's a very personal thing, you know? So you really want to be careful how you're going to go about it, because you don't know how it's going to be perceived. But this thing of, it's not even media per se, because you know, when I say media, it rings, it's traditional media. Leave alone even the media we know. Look at it at social media. You know, there was a group that was recently created called Thriving Couples. You know, and people were there posting
all excited, and they were
and when I was looking at it from where I was seated, the people who are not in it were like, hey, people are thriving out here. You could tell.
You could tell that.
You could tell there's sort of sarcasm when people are just showcasing how we met, we've hustled together. Then there is always watachana too. Are you seeing?
And in most cases it happens. Let's be honest.
But you see,
let's be honest for a moment.
But you see, it's because of when you get married, probably, and you put it out there. And I usually say, especially the first years, please solidify what needs to be solidified. My friend, this is a journey, and it's a very long journey. I have a friend of mine called Viola, and she tells me, hey, forever is a long time.
Forever is quite a long time, you know.
It's not at today.
It's not even definite.
No,
anyway.
It's forever. Like, you know, so solidify first what needs to be solidified before you come out here. And if you're to tell them success stories, let's also talk about the failures, because what we have seen, and I don't have a problem with the hashtags, marriage works for sure it does. If you want it to work, it works. But can we give the nitty-gritties? Can we say the work that is put in there? Let's give a scenario of what it is like. You know, it's figuring out you have a communication problem. Like I said, it's also figuring out inner self of what I want, and sometimes you figure it out when you're already in there. You know, it takes a lot of sitting down with yourself and saying, I could also be the problem. I could also be the problem. So it needs a lot of maturity. It needs someone who is very willing to grow, to change, and even the other person is realizing, hey, by then Linda is changing. You know, are we on the same wavelength? Because we've seen scenarios where we have grown, I've left you behind. Then we are not on the same wavelength.
So I'll have to leave you behind. Temo, you want to say something?
You know, as she talks about the thing of we need to see the other side of the marriage as well. People have, they've got this provision for you to fail in business. They've got provision for you to fail in careers. You can move from one job to the other, get sacked and something. There's no stigma to that. Because there is the sense that it takes work to make a business thrive. We all know that. When it comes to marriage, there is this pressure that is exerted on people that is very unrealistic. This is a human being. These are not just figures. This is not a P&L account. This is not commodities that are being sold. This is somebody who has their own background, philosophy, they have their own mindset, and they have their own preferences. They have their own way of thinking. They've been socialized differently, and you're trying to bring those together. It's going to take work for that to work. It cannot be smooth and rosy from the beginning to the end. Marriage is also one place where you give somebody your life on credit because they'll be changing. You're meeting them at 25, and you have committed at 25 that you're going to live with this person forever. You don't even know who you will be at 45. You don't know how you will be acting at 35. You cannot control who this person is going to be at that particular point, but you have committed to this. So you'll be meeting the changes, the struggles, the strains, the things that you never thought would happen, and you have to navigate around there and still keep the commitment. We have to permit people in marriage to go through whatever they're going through, because that commitment was done on credit. If we allow people to start a business, fail, and tell them you can start again, we should allow people to go through relationships and say, pick yourself up and work it again. So the reason people hide things is the stigma that comes with failed relationships, not just even marriage.
It's too much.
You break up, just a breakup. It's all over the place. Like they couldn't make it, you know. So people will pull down photos on social media. They will hide. They will get off social media because they cannot handle the fact that their relationship did not work.
Do you realize that times are changing and we're getting to that point where, stigma is a game of the past? That today, if I break up with so and so, I am the one who's actually dishing out this information, as opposed to back then when it would be about gossip and he and she and all that. It's like they've broken up. It's not so. No one is telling you the truth. Well, sometimes it takes a while before people come out to speak, but eventually they speak out. What is this shift? What informs this? A point where you'd be like, you know what, after all, it has not worked. It's okay. Let me go and speak it out to the world that it is not working. And boom, nobody's going to stigmatize you in regards to that.
What are your intentions of sharing that it's not working?
Okay.
Are you trying to paint the other person as the bad person?
Okay.
The intention really here matters. You could be sharing and saying, hey, this is what failed. We did not communicate. We did not do this. I've seen people write books on their failed relationships, on their failed marriages, even failed businesses. But what are your intentions? If your intentions are wrong and you're doing it to think the other person in a bad way, please don't start.
Right.
Because it shows a very bad side of you. It reflects a very wrong image of you.
Okay.
But if you're sharing so that it can save another person's relationship or marriage, then go right ahead. But please make sure you talk to the other party. Sasa siji nipate tume break up sijui na nani, then all of a sudden you're even sharing. It could be good, but I don't even know about it. I'm seeing.
We also have now, when you talk about the changes, we also have now the social media culture as well. Some people share so that they get numbers. They will come out there because they're cloud chasing.
Okay.
Yeah. So they know.
I don't know whether I'll get myself to that point, honestly, where I'm in search of the numbers, and so I have to watch my dirty linen in
search of numbers.
Yeah, there are people who will do that because they want to leverage on it to gain either the sympathy or the numbers, and then they start trending for certain other reasons, and then eventually, eventually the end game is some business. So I have either a YouTube channel or I'm an influencer on Instagram. You look at how they got to that place of influence. It was just a breakup that gave them the numbers, so they have the numbers, so they can easily then engage either the corporates or other people. Yeah.
Is it because, well, in most cases I'm looking at the genuine ones, like genuinely you were in love with this person and it happened, it didn't work out well, and so you just had to speak out because, well, after all, you're a public figure already. You are a public figure, and in a way it comes along with numbers, and so you capitalize on the goodness that has come along with the breakup.
In that case, I would say heal fast. Matters relationship are very, very, especially when you have raw emotions, don't act on them.
Okay.
Take your time. Be with yourself, because even how you present this information to the world, being in media myself, you want to package something that looks like, I'm talking from a point, I don't have bitterness, I've come to terms with it. So take time and be with yourself, deal with it yourself, go through all the phases first, because there's so much that happens when a breakup happens, especially if people knew. If you have ever been left and people didn't know, and the way you suffered, the way you cried, so you can imagine. And I remember watching Kevin Hart's documentary saying it's one thing to fight a battle, it's another thing to fight your battle, especially marital battle in public. It's not easy. So before you take it out there, if it's not out there, have your moment first. And also be very cautious of the people that are around you. They could be the ones who are leaking. You're not even ready for this. Then now it has Fika TV 47.
So what do you do?
So you don't have an option. You have to address it anyway.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask this. One of the reasons why we decided that we're going to talk about this, because a random talk in the office, and so women are like, or a majority of ladies are like, you know what, we've gotten to that point where we honestly do not think we need men in our lives. Probably out of the experiences they've had in their relationships, what they have seen their friends go through, the trends, because then again, we are a society, or we are a people that are always accustomed so much to trends. So if you look at, if you're in that, a setup where things are working well and marriages are being kept and people are fighting for their marriages, in most cases, you will be accustomed to that. But when you come to this phase where, the trend is like, it is not working, drop him. I have some coins for myself, drop him. You know, I can get a baby with him because he has money and I know my baby's life is secured. That's the deal. And then after a while, we drop it. We are in chase, in that chase for numbers. So let's get into it. Chase the numbers, get the numbers, drop it. And so most of the girls were like, you know what? I would rather get him so that he can give me a baby boy, a baby girl, and that's it. Thank you. It was good doing business with you.
It's not as easy as they think.
Okay.
It's not as easy. See, Linda, when a woman gives her body, she's given her soul. Yeah. Part of the reason women are very angry when they have given themselves to men.
And they've been...
Yeah, it's because they gave their entire soul.
Okay.
When a man gets intimate with a woman, he may not have needed to give his soul to have that. It's more like meeting a need.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're hungry, get food, eat, and you're done.
Okay.
He can pick up himself and leave. On the flip side, when a man gives his money, he has given his soul.
Oh, ouch. All right.
He has given
You didn't know that, right?
Wait, that's slapped differently. Okay.
That's why you will see these fights around.
Mm-hmm.
She ate my money.
Oh, yes.
She ate fair.
Yeah. So he's very upset. He's very angry. He's not letting it go. Some of them go to the extreme of women who they have spent their money on. They even get violent.
Yes.
They feel like she used me. On the other hand, a woman is thinking he used me because the man slept with her. There are those ways that we look at things that are very different. You know, when a woman gets intimate with a man, it's not just as easy as we'll have a baby, I'll walk out.
That's it, yeah.
It's easy to say that. You'll realize that you have connected with this person in a certain way. There will be a subtle expectation that this guy needs to be involved. I see people who say, I just want a baby and then I'll be fine. Later on, you hear them complain. The man didn't even come to the hospital to see the baby. The man is not supporting. The guy is thinking, you just wanted a baby and then you wanted to go. So there's still this subtle expectation that they will have because a woman is created to be loved. She wants to be loved, no matter what we say. You know, all these walls that women put up is because they're not very sure they will get that love.
Okay.
Yet again, I would ask the question, cars break down every day. We don't stop buying them. There are accidents every day. We don't stop traveling. In the very same hospital, somebody's going to deliver a baby, somebody dies right there. Why is it different when it comes to relationship?
Okay.
Just because somebody else has failed does not mean I shouldn't get in. Even if yours will last for 5 years, there'll be some experience in there. There'll be some joy of living, at least for now. You enjoy it. It's not my philosophy, but enjoy it while it lasts.
Okay.
At least you enjoyed something about life, love. It's an investment. It could go up, it could come down, just like anything else. It's an investment, it's a risk, but we shouldn't stop doing that just because we feel like somebody else's did not work.
All right. Well, you get to experience that, a couple of heartbreaks, then you get used to that, and then you're like, all right, well, enjoy it while it lasts. You get used to it.
You know how to look out for the red flags.
Yeah.
You know, like the way you're in 22.
You're on standby,
right
you're
now,
in
someone
alert.
will come right now and say something. You're like, we know
I can
you.
see you
We know
from
you.
afar. But that's one thing that is also a big problem, I'd want to believe, because out of what it is that other people have gone through, then you start reading all the men that come your way, with such scripts and all that. And so sometimes, in as much as you've gone through all these experiences, you deny yourself that aspect to let it loose and fly and enjoy the moment while it lasts.
I know, especially for women, because we're very fragile. So you can't keep having your heart broken once, twice, 3 times, and then, of course, you change.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Loving someone and wanting to be loved is a choice, it's a decision. You see, it's like the way you'd want to start a business. You decide today, no matter what happens, I want to start importing things from China.
Right.
So it's not easy. You get what I'm saying? But if you set up your mind that I really, really want to get something, you will do your research. You want to know how does this China business go and and all that stuff. The same thing about getting to love somebody. You get to seek the right information, get to know, like I said, seek the right information. And it's so funny because what you consume sometimes tends to affect us a lot. If you're in an environment of negativity all the time, you know, because the people who are very negative, the people who talk about alikuwa mbaya sana, but there was nothing ever that person did that was it could be a deal breaker. Yes, he did something that was outrageous, you know. And I've met even businesses, you break up with your business partner, and I've had this because I've had that experience. This person alikuacha kwa mataa, alikuacha na deni, but you have this one thing, this person was very hardworking. Why not? Let's focus on the positives. Okay. You know, let's focus on looking at people on their positive side and getting to understand, and why does Linda behave like this? You know, get to learn somebody. You could also be the one who will help them navigate. So let me tell you, ukiamua and you get that person and you want to die with them. I've seen people who have been cheated in marriages and they're like,
it's okay, I'm
sticking.
Okay.
Do you know why they're stuck? It's for their own reasons. You know, what could be a deal breaker to me could not be someone else. Yeah, so let's have some positivity towards this thing. Me personally, I don't like loneliness.
Okay. I know, right? Who? I mean, for as long as you've gotten to this point, you've tasted the sweetness of not being lonely. I doubt if there's anyone who would be
there are instances where
loneliness. I mean, very few I'd want to believe, because then again, there's some sweetness that comes along with love. There's some beauty that comes along with marriage. You know, just being in it and, you know, trying to make it work. It is a beautiful thing, so to speak, and maybe that's why we need to ask ourselves, where did the rain start beating us? Such that we can have men who really want to run away from man. Like literally, this person would not would love to do it easy.
Men are scared of
commitment. That's the thing. That's what we need to address that.
We start to be corrected, but I feel like generally men are really scared.
But like he says, you know, money is a factor. So if money, I mean, wouldn't you be scared? Wouldn't you be scared, you know, for committing?
Or people get scared of making commitment when they are not sure they will keep the commitment. We have to also understand that most men are not prepared to relate. Men are raised to go to work. And so they mostly look at their lives from the point of the job that they will have, the money that they will have. When a boy is growing up, he's not mostly taught how to treat his wife. Okay. He's not talked to about how to relate with girls, because maybe the father is supposed to do that, or the uncles, but they're also very busy out there. Then sometimes they find those kind of talks to be very weird. They don't know how to initiate that kind of talk. So this boy will grow up going out to play football, going out to play gun games with other kids. They jump over the trees, jump down the floods. They're always doing dangerous things out there. They fall, they get hurt, they say, that's a boy. That's how a boy is supposed to be. On the other hand, the girl is being domesticated. You bring these two people together at 28. One person has been domesticated. The other person has no idea about how to run a house. He only is sure of the fact that he is in love with the body of this woman. And to him, that marriage represents daily being taken care of in the bedroom. That's all he's seeing, the bedroom and the kitchen. So now he will not need to cook for himself. That's all he's seeing. He doesn't understand the other dynamics and the intricacies around this relationship, which is the communication, staying in here, talking through things, listening, coming in time, being with the kids. He doesn't understand most of those things because he has not been trained to do that. But the girl has been preparing for her marriage from childhood, her dolls, while the boys are getting the gunmen as their toys. The girl is getting the dolls.
You know, we can celebrate this, and I'd love for us to probably expound some more on that one. And I'd ask this question, is it the reason why, and correct me if I'm wrong, even though I know I am not wrong, because statistically it has been proven, one, it has been declared that the homes are not safe spaces for women anymore. Is it because the men were so much into the gun games, so that now it is always in there to box the women? Two, the fact that nowadays men have run away from responsibility totally. You find that the woman is literally holding the house, provision, security, you know, care of the children and everything. And the men are comfortable in that.
Linda, nobody is born responsible. Responsibility is something people are trained into.
Okay.
If we don't train the boys to be responsible, they will not be. They won't be. And that's why I was talking about the domestication of the lady already. They're taught how to be responsible. Wash the clothes, help your brother, get the things from off the sink. You're a girl, you cannot wake up at this time, you can't do this. So this girl gets to understand that she needs to be responsible. The boy will wake up, leave the room, they'll say, that's a boy, boys are like that. He will wear the same shirt 4 days, 5 days down the line, it's not washed. Guys are like, well, men are like that. What is happening to this boy is he's not learning responsibility. He can get away with a lot of things. And then most of the time, because their fathers are not there, so they're dealing with their mothers, who probably then will pamper them, will give them the motherly love. He comes into this situation of a relationship or marriage. He's now expected to be a man. Number one, he does not know the template of manhood. He has not seen anybody display that, so he doesn't know what to fit into as an image of manhood. He begins feeling very threatened because he has a woman who holds him responsible. This is now not his mother, this is his wife. So this woman is not going to mother him over here. She expects leadership from him. She expects direction. She expects answers. You're late. Where are you coming from? Right. Where is the money? You earned your money. We were supposed to do this. How come you did not do what we agreed? Why did you take the loan? Why did you need another car? He has to be responsible. He's on the spot. He's not used to being in that position. The easiest thing for him to do is to run away.
After all, marriage has to continue. So if they've gotten themselves into that, they have to figure it out all together. Do you suppose then that the society has been unfair to the girls or to the boys now that they have not been trained in a way that they should grow?
You see, it's an individual thing. Like today, I have a son. I have to make sure that I do not want him to be like that, because I know if you know, you do better. Mostly people who, like, if you find out men who are like that, probably their parents were just, and you see, nobody can blame parenting. Parenting comes, it doesn't have a manual, you know, and you don't know. For sure, if there's one thing.
Are you disagreeing to that?
Well, I'll reserve my comments.
You cannot reserve your comments. You have to tell us the comments.
Okay.
Yes.
They're basic things, but again, do you think what we know now, they're probably, and again, we come from different, look at cultures, this, different situations. That, yeah. You know, there's one parent who knew my main goal is Aki to put food on the table, then ignored all the rest of the, you know, so. Now that you know, you make it intentional.
Then that wasn't parenting, you know.
Yeah. That was provision.
That was provision.
But again, provision is a part of parenting.
So how do you do it? How do you balance all this?
It is not the core. It's not the core.
But in Africa, we think that's the core, even for a man. Because you'll hear a man tell you, what do you mean I don't love you? Parents.
I mean, everything is there.
We've got to understand and appreciate the fact that parenting is it's the journey of imparting values.
Yeah.
In these people. And this is one thing that can't be done by other people. That's why even at schools today, they don't want to parent the children.
Okay.
They are more now asking parents to be involved. They realize that no matter what they do in school, if the parent is not involved, there's nothing that is going to happen. Because that is the foundation for this child to receive instruction, inspiration, direction. So just putting food on the table.
Yeah, and actually, the other day there was a conversation, very heated conversation going on Instagram. And we're all talking about the aspects of how education has become expensive and all that. But there's someone who said, guys, you're looking at this thing from one angle.
Yes.
You know, there's the money aspect, yes. Let me tell you, if there's a hard thing, it's imparting of values,
yes.
Because where are you getting the values yourselves? Like, you don't even, some of us do not know. You have to be very intelligent. You have to buy books. You have to look for people like in
pages and all that.
You know, because as we operated the hard way, my friend, why are you crying? Go to away, go.
And sometimes I think maybe we need to go back to that. Honestly, sometimes it's that feeling that we probably need to go back to that.
Well, there's a place for it, as long as it is not abuse.
Okay.
As long as it is not abuse.
Our parents wanted to kill us. Let's be honest.
See, what we have done as well is we have moved away from how we were parented. And we have taken it to the other pendulum, which is generally what happens to most people. If you've come from poverty, so you want to have this extreme prosperity or whatever, wealth. So if you've come from abuse, then you want to go into this place that does not exist. We have given our kids everything we didn't have. and then denied them whatever we were given.
Okay.
And so we are now facing the repercussions of denying them the foundations that we were given. And so these kids will have to raise their own children the way our parents raised us.
So it's a cycle.
It becomes a cycle.
All right, in this cycle, how then do we restore the glory of marriage? Because then in unison, I don't know whether I'm part of that. We have
uko upande gani? Kwa mjadala.
Kuzungumza, lakini kama ningekuwa na uwezo wa kuzungumza, ndugu zangu nisingelikuwa upande mmoja na nyinyi. How do we restore it? How do we get to that point where we tell the world that it's not as ugly as it looks? Where we tell the world that you don't necessarily have to be there for convenience, that you don't necessarily have to make it like it's more of a business deal and everything. That marriage is indeed a serious thing, a beautiful thing, a good thing, and it works.
There are no treasures that are found on the surface. You've got to dig to find gold, diamond. You've got to dig to find oil. With every beautiful thing, there will be dirt around it. Yeah. You just have to go past the dirt and find the beauty in it. The adage says that if you love the rose, you put up with the thorns as well. We cannot want just the good part of anything and ignore the things that we feel are not favoring us, right? When we get into things like marriage, just like anything else, manage your expectations. Give yourselves room to grow, to work through it, to disagree sometimes. Give yourselves room for changes that will come. That's why your initial engagement must start on the right footing. Marriage, Linda, is not just a feeling, it's a commitment. You choose every day to go back to the same person. There are people who may need your attention. There are people who may appreciate you even the more. There are people who may feel like you're the best thing that they've ever met, but you choose to go back to the person that you made a commitment to.
All right. It's never greener on the other side, so why don't you stick here and try your level best?
What are your grass?
As we call it.
What are your grass? So I would agree totally with what Atemo said, but one thing I've come to realize, first of all, deal with yourself. And understand yourself so well. Some of the marriages is because of some of the childhood traumas, that happened to you, and you carry them on. So it needs a lot of being very, very, very self-conscious. Understand yourself so well. Who are you? If someone stops you on the road right now and asks you, who are you? What are your values? What do you want in that man that you're committing your life to? And let it be for the right reasons, because most of the time, and I've seen it, so you ask someone, so even if you leave this man, what do you want? I just want to go where? What do you want after that? Do you see? So it's making you know, sure that you know who you are as a person. Deal with yourself. If there are people who have inner issues, it's as because in Africa we don't deal with things. We are on, I don't know, we just keep moving. They catch up with you later.
All right. I am in a way convinced that indeed there's always room for, working things out. And so one of the core values, even as we run some of these programs, is for us to allow ourselves that chance to learn. And I would want to believe that this morning we've equally learned. You can go out there and make it work. If it worked back then for others, it has worked for many other people. And it's still going to work. Why don't you try your level best and make it work? But as the life coach would say then, it is important that you love yourself enough to know that when it gets to that level where it's violent, you need to get time out and figure out what it is that you want to take as a direction. Importantly, learn yourself. Know yourself, as Nonsizi would put it. I think someone has told me this a couple of times. You have to know you so that when this person comes in, they will gel into you. Not necessarily you editing them into what you want them to be, but they will gel into you. You will equally gel into them and becomes easy. It was good having you this morning, ladies and gentlemen. CJ Atemo, life coach, and Agnes Nonsizi, publicist. We look forward to have more and more of these conversations, even as, of course, many have